on here, back again with the PokeFlipz podcast, episode number 43. Joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. How we doing today, Dan?
Doing very well. Let us know in the chat if you can hear us fine. When we were first talking, Nick, kind of like I did with Josh. Nick's got the echo going for us. But yeah, like I did with Josh, I think we mentioned it in the beginning of that podcast. We recorded for 20 minutes and I realized it wasn't capturing their audio. When we first hopped into this call, it wasn't capturing the audio again, but I think I have it sorted. Please confirm in chat if you can actually hear Nick or if he's just miming sounds to you. Okay, can't hear you guys, Java says. So hit the record. Yeah, we're recording, we're streaming, all the good stuff.
Nick, damn, you gave me that.
Loud and clear. Yeah, I got the live chat up. So yeah, we did have a handful of questions from last week. Before we get into those, I guess, feel free to leave questions in the chat. We're gonna kind of hang out with chat for most of the day. We're gonna use the from 2 weeks ago. We're gonna use those questions to kind of guide us through whatever topics come up. We're here ready to discuss them. Bring up the latest buzz, the latest on the rumor mill, all the Pokemon news you want to, and we'll cover them. One announcement we had, Nick, if you just want to let everyone know our next special guest for 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, so for our next podcast, which will be the 17th, we're going to be having Pikachu on as our special guest. So if any of you guys have questions that you want to leave for him after this stream ends, be sure to leave them in the comment section of this video. We're not sure if it's going to be a live stream or if it's going to be something pre-recorded and uploaded on Thursday. But well, if it is live, it'll be later in the night, like 9 p.m. Eastern time. But we'll definitely, if it is live, we'll schedule it out so you guys actually know. But not quite sure on that just yet.
So with that, yeah, definitely look forward to talking to Colt. We both got to meet him in Denver, had a great time. It'll be cool to do a podcast with him. I actually forgot to set up my lighting properly, so let me get my light set up as it should be.
You still look way better than me.
I think it looks a little better now, not with my room light turned off and just the stream lights on. But yeah, we'll hop right into the questions from last week. And again, leave questions in chat. We'll catch up once we get through these first few. So Pokey Martin asks, my question for next week, Dan, you mentioned that Rudy was an inspiration for you in the early stages of your business, but Rudy has mountains and mountains of boxes. I don't see that as being part of your business model. You don't keep any vintage or pseudo-vintage boxes. I don't know if you keep tons of modern, but when did you determine that wasn't right for you and why? Nick, please feel free to chime in why you also don't follow this practice. Main thing is money. Main thing is cash flow. I don't have enough cash flow to justify sitting on 6 or 7 figures of sealed product. I mean, Rudy is probably more in the realm of 7 or 8 figures. He's firmly in 7 figures. He's probably well into 8 figures of sealed product, 10 million plus. Maybe 5 or 10 years from now, I'll be at more of a place where I can sit on more longer. But for me, what I do is every set in the Sword and Shield block, I have 5+ cases of generally. Years ago, I've mentioned before, I used to do it with about 2 cases of each. But when the 2020 bubble came, if and when a period comes where everything just feels insane, I'm going to wholesale move it out. And I did. Like, I have 1 or 2 boxes left of all the X and Y era. If that, Flash Flare, I don't even have any. Phantom Forces, I don't have any. But I have 1 or 2 boxes of a lot of them. Same in the Sun and Moon era. But when Team Up hits 1,000, I'm not going to sit on a case or 2 anymore. Between where I bought it and it hitting 1,000, I probably sold a lot of it fairly early. But I could just more reasonably, more productively use that cash flow in other places. So yeah, that's my plan as of right now. Some sets more recently, like Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, Astral Radiance, I have 10 to 20 cases of each of those. And that's kind of the number I want to have moving ahead. But it's not like buy 10 to 20 cases, sit on it for 20 years. I'm going to actively always have 1 or 2 boxes listed. And as they slowly move, they'll move. I don't really have any fixed, I need to have this many boxes for this many years, sell it when it doubles, triples, quadruples. It's all by feel. So that's my side personally. I don't know where you're at, Nick.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Biggest thing is the money and tying up that much money on modern product. I pretty much I hold way less than you. I pretty much open a good majority of what I get from my distributor. And then I keep a case or two to sell on my website now, which those I definitely need to work on getting more traffic over to the website. So hopefully that'll pick up soon and I'll start being able to move more through the website. But and then after that, I keep 2 cases of each to just set aside and hold for however long. Don't really have any idea on how long, but I'm just keeping 2 cases of each set, and I started that with Vivid Voltage. So Vivid Voltage onward, I got two cases of each. But yeah, biggest thing on why I don't hold more is just the whole money aspect, and I want to keep being able to buy collections and move inventory. So if I can make a decent profit margin on the boxes that I'm getting now, I'd rather take that small profit and kind of roll that money into different collections. The biggest thing now is, we've talked about this before, but the Evolving Skies boxes, I still do not know what to do with those. I kept 4 cases of Evolving Skies and I still have them. My cost basis on them, it was $120 a box. And right now they're up to like $250 a box, so could definitely make a good margin on them. But Evolving Skies was just one of those sets that it's a really, really good set. And I'm just so hesitant on whether or not we're going to see a reprint on those boxes. And the reason for that is just because we're entering a new era. And where Evolving Skies is already a year old, I'm just not sure. So I have no idea what to do with those.
I think I have like 9 boxes left. That's one that I've like, if and when the prices balloon more, the earlier they balloon, the more likely I'm to move more of them. Because to me, like, it's not a guarantee by any means, but it's as close as guaranteed can come. It's as close as you can get to guaranteed that we will see further reprints of that. Will I only get allocated 1 case or 2 cases from the reprint? I hope not. I hope I'm getting like 10 cases, 20 cases more. I highly doubt it though. So it's that weird dynamic where I don't spend too much time thinking on it, because it's like I had at one, like, I need to look back, but I probably had, between my original allocation, every reprint, between some of our distributors allow like a monthly purchase at that higher price point, as you mentioned, at 120, 125. I've probably had 100 plus Evolving Skies boxes come through my hands. And I'm down to 9 now. So the 90 that I sold, I probably made an average profit of $80 a box, like net. I probably doubled my money on net, which is just absurd. Like, and that $7,200 profit approximately has just been put into other things, making more money. Could it make more money just sitting in Evolving Skies cases? Potentially. But like, I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on it, because there's always opportunities to buy stuff. It's crazy out there though. For that box to be at $250, it's absolutely fascinating.
That whole set is just such a mystery, and the fact that the Moonbryons at $1,500, $1,500 in a PSA 10. That is, I remember when we had Mason on as a special guest, and PSA 10s were like $700, $750. And even back then, we were saying how crazy expensive that card was. And now, what is it? It's been like a month, maybe 2 months, and that card's doubled in price. Absolutely insane.
I've had a few clips sent to me of myself saying what I thought the price trajectory on that card would be, and so far I've been pretty wrong. I think one that I saw the most recently, I think it was Swami that clipped it and posted it in a Discord. But it was like, my long-term trajectory for that card is, I didn't say it was going to be peaked at 700. I said it was going to hit a peak, sharp ups and downs around all this hype, all this initial mania around it. And then I said its long-term trajectory from the peak will just be a slow bleed off to zero. I still stand by that, but maybe the peak's going to be at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. I have no, like, bubbles are unpredictable, and I think that card is in a bit of a mania / bubble, personally. But yeah, there's that first question.
100% agree with that.
We do have like 5 questions to get through, and some of them are really, really lengthy reads. So let me get on to the next one. Takibana, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but considering the fact that most distributors that carry Pokemon currently are not open to non-retail clients, is it even possible to sell sealed product profitably, be it locally, online, or even breaking packs? This is part 1 of like 3 from this person. So let's touch on this part first. I pay $86.50 per box at release. So if I'm selling through eBay, figure $10 for shipping, figure 13% for eBay fees. Break even on that would be something like 115-ish probably to sell on eBay. So if you're able to buy a new release set for sub 115 on eBay, I cannot profitably sell it. If you're able to buy it for like sub 110, sub 105 or something on TCG Player, probably, I would not profitably be able to sell it. So the people that are selling at those rates either have negotiated contracts with eBay, or they're selling at a loss, or they get a significantly cheaper price point when they buy it. Any thoughts to add on that part?
No, you covered that one. It is not possible to sell boxes on eBay or TCG Player for me and Dan. Between the fees and then the shipping, you're just automatically losing money.
Troll and Toad Evo is one place where I can eke out a little bit of profit. If I'm able to sell a box for like $99.99 on that website, I'm able to well, I think I pay 18% fee now, or 18.5%. So it would still be like 103.
10%. Okay.
Oh, I honestly, I forget. These are things that I should know, but it's, I think over 100 it does come.
I have no idea. I never sold boxes on there, but 18, that's different.
There is a break point where it goes from 10 to 18%, I think it is. I'm just going to look it up now because I should actually know this anyways. So, okay, so over $70. No, this is still the old one. This isn't the new one. I need to check my email. But it used to be over $70 was 10%. I think it's over 100 now is 10%, but up to 100 I think is 18. So I would still need to sell a box for low 100s to be able to break even on Troll and Toad Evo. Unless I get certain products, like a year ago, or not a year ago, but several months ago, I was able to buy through my distributor Fusion Strike at 77 because they had so much of it. They offered me a special price. I took like 10 or 15 cases all at once, and I was able to get down to the cheapest I've ever paid, like 77 a box. But let me continue on to the next part of this question. Expanding on that further, if it is indeed impossible or difficult to make a profit, would you still suggest that most people that are newer in the Pokemon market, would you suggest that newer people in the hobby stick to singles and graded cards until places like Southern and GTS start opening back up for online clients? That being said, if the increase in MSRP is also going to increase the wholesale price, I don't think you'd be able to sell that and make money. Yeah, I mean, this person's basically just asking, is it worth getting into wholesale distribution, I think, given that you can't sell Oh, I just got a notification that I disconnected. There might be a little lag there. But in my opinion, can you still hear me, Nick?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So in my opinion, I think even if you're going to do primarily vintage graded cards, I think having that modern, and this is just my opinion, my take, I think having access to wholesale distribution is important. Sometimes a banger product will come around that is just like a clear, I mean, Charizard UPC, I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point later today, but that's not panning out to be what everyone thought it was going to be, just a straight double or triple up, selling it sealed, like the Celebrations UPC was. But yeah, I think having the diversification, having a little bit of access to modern product, whether you're ripping it, whatever you're doing with it. I think it's worthwhile to have if you're going to do business in the hobby.
I actually disagree with you for once.
Oh, there we go.
I think it depends on. I think it depends on where you are in your like Pokemon business. If you're someone who's just starting out and kind of just getting the hang of it for the first couple years, I would actually discourage getting into modern product just because the margins are so thin on the vast majority of products that come out every year. Obviously, Charizard UPCs are the exception. Make a decent margin on those just selling sealed, but for the most part, every other product that comes out that's come out this year has been at a loss if you're going to sell it sealed. And for me, the only way to make money on the majority of modern products is to actually open the product and sell the single cards. And even then, the profit margin is very, very low. So I would recommend focusing on like collections, graded cards, or purchasing collections, grading cards, selling those, where you're making a decent bit of money on each individual sale. And then as you start to build up cash flow and kind of expand your business, then look into modern product if you want to. That's kind of where I would go with that one.
Nick just doesn't want competition.
There's already so much competition with modern, and I just see it as something that would discourage a lot of people. Everyone hears the stories about how much money all these stores make selling modern product, but when you actually think about it, the vast majority of people are not making much money off of modern. The majority of your profit is coming from collections that you're buying, cards that you're grading, all of that stuff. But it is good to get into modern just because you have that secondary source of income. But that's how I would take that question.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't get into ultra modern to sell as sealed. There's way too much competition in that. But maybe buying, like I remember when I started, I was buying a case of booster boxes to break down for singles. If you sell singles at release, there's still some amount of a play there. If you want to play that hot potato game and get some of the first graded cards to market, if you're lucky enough to pull them, you buy and open a case back in XY era, you could almost get a complete set. These days, not so much with the alt art crazy pull rates, but I used to arbitrage and I used to break down good collection boxes for their promos. I think there's a bit too much negativity out there with distribution about like, you have to take all this garbage product, like they make you just take thousands and thousands of dollars of all this garbage product. Maybe more so it is like that. I mean, I take a ton of everything anyways because I'm able to sell a lot of it through Troll and Toad Evo. But back when I started in 2014, I might have only spent $5 or $10 grand that first year. I was doing $500 orders. I think at the time the minimum order was like $300 to get, air quotes, free shipping that was just included in it. I mean, you could pick and choose a little bit. Availability was more widely available back then. I mean, you could buy stuff all the way back to Heart Gold, Soul Silver, some black and white. But I still think you could get into distribution. I think you could take a case or two of every release. And I think you could just skip out on certain collection boxes that you didn't like, buy a little bit. You're not going to get a ton. You're not going to get just 100 of the next stonk, or if Evolving Skies reprints, you're not going to get 50 cases of it. And then you could just take one case of everything else. It's going to be limited, but I can see your angle too. If the cash flow is super tight, the highest margin stuff is generally buying collections, grading, selling some raw. That is definitely generally, if you're very, very cash strapped, the best way to go, because if you end up buying a modern dud and tying up $1,000 and you don't have too much cash flow to work with, that can be really, really hurtful to your business to just have too much money locked up in dead product. One last portion of the same Hakibana's question. Also, as an additional question, do you find that going to card conventions can be a good way to both network and make potentially profitable deals, i.e. buying up cards from vendors on the last day and a decent discount, enough so that you could still be low list on eBay and make something out of it? The networking portion is absolutely huge from conventions. I primarily go. Networking is like the formal terminology in case the IRS is listening, but hanging out, meeting people, the connections you make are actually great though. You find and meet people who you can do whatnot consignments through. You find and meet people who you talk about your interests, they talk about their interests. I remember, oh, I met this guy. He's into Diamond and Pearl booster boxes. Next time I'm on Facebook, next time I'm on Reddit and I see like Diamond and Pearl booster box, I might send it his way. Like you end up hearing and finding more things when you get your name out there, when people know what you're after. Anytime a collection comes up on Golden or Heritage, I've got multiple people like DMing me, hey, are you going to go after that one? Or I had that recent 23K collection buy. That was through word of mouth, someone being referred to me, whether that was through a convention, networking, or my YouTube channel. I'm not entirely sure, but networking is definitely big.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. It's definitely a huge aspect. I know every time I go to one of the CollectCon events, I gain a ton of Instagram followers. I don't keep track of followers on Instagram, but I know it's at least 100 or 200 each time I go. So it's a substantial amount, in my opinion. So even just to gain those extra followers, who knows if they're ever going to sell me something, buy something from me, but just to kind of get the word out and have more people know about my business, it definitely always helps for sure. And the second part of that question, the profitability aspect, collecticons are a really good time. I thoroughly enjoy going to collecticons, but if I'm strictly looking at it from a monetary aspect, I probably wouldn't go to them. Obviously, sales are really, really good, but it takes a tremendous amount of work, and you're really not selling cards for much more than you could net on eBay for those same types of cards. So, profitability is kind of a reason to go, but it's definitely more so to have a good time, enjoy the weekend. That's always the way that I've looked at it. If I was just looking at it from a business standpoint, I probably wouldn't go to any of the CollectCons. The cost involved with actually going to them is absolutely massive, and you really have to have a lot of really good sales in order to make that worthwhile compared to what you could sell those cards for on eBay.
If you want to take the next question, I've got it up on screen.
Yeah. So, PokeDream Market. Question for the next episode. When having a full-time business or side hustle in the Pokemon space, is it better to specialize, generalize, or does it not matter? For example, some people only sell vintage, others only sell modern. I personally sell vintage and modern Pokemon, but have historically dabbled in video games. So, kind of going back to that whole that previous question about getting into modern, I would definitely recommend, if you're first starting out, take one specialty and focus on that. My first year of getting back into Pokemon, I was exclusively base set, jungle set, and fossil set. The first three sets. That's all I sold for like the first year of my time back into Pokemon. And then slowly I branched off into the other WotC sets, so Team Rocket through Skyridge. And then after that, I kind of branched off into the EX era, and then slowly built up to Diamond and Pearl, Black and White, XY, Sun and Moon, all of that stuff. But I would definitely recommend, if you're first starting out, choose one specialty and focus on that before you kind of branch out into all of these other different eras. Just so you can learn that one era very well, and then go to the next era, learn that era really well, and then so on and so forth. Kind of repeat that cycle over and over. So yeah, that's how I would handle it. But I do think over time it is good to have different products available. So like the bulk of my business has and always will be Wizard of the Coast cards. That's what I'm interested in. That's the bulk of what I'm selling. But I do also sell other eras, mainly modern now. So I would recommend branching out at some point, just so you have that extra cash flow to work with.
Yeah, it's a really good and interesting question. I think there are people on both sides who would say one is silly to do, you really need to specialize. And then other people would say you need to diversify your inventory to some extent. It's too risky to be just in one era. What if that era doesn't really stand out, is kind of loses its luster, doesn't pan out? I've always taken like the more jack of all trades route, and sometimes the jack of all trades, master of none is really frowned upon. Like you really need to specialize. You need to go into one thing and just be the master of it. I understand it, and I think it really does work well for certain people, but I've gone the route of doing a little bit of everything. I've been able to find quite a bit of profitability in vintage, modern, mid-era, doing all of it. I do sell on eBay, I sell on Troll and Toad, I consign some cards through Whatnot. I try to be a little bit everywhere. And I don't want to say one is really optimal over the other. I don't know that one, it's not like a black and white thing. It's more of a spectrum. And I think depending on you, depending on your interest, depending on your expertise, I think any of them can be turned into, this is such a massive hobby that I think either can be a very successful, workable business strategy. So yeah, for me, I've kind of been all over. Similar to Nick, like he mentioned, he started with Base Jungle Fossil. When I first got back into it, WotC was what I knew, and I spent most of my time buying old collections, grading WotC cards. It's still largely what I do today, but right off the rip, right when I got back into it in 2014, I also spent a little bit of time buying a couple Phantom Forces booster boxes, learning about distribution. Like 90% of my effort was probably put into learning more and catching up on WotC related things. But I also, all these empty boxes behind me, I also went through and had to learn a little bit about every set that I missed along the way. So yeah, that's kind of my take and a little bit of my history with that. Really good question though. I like it. I know people successful that their entire brand is old school EX. I know people that their entire brand is just WotC PSA 10s, WotC PSA 9s and 10s, WotC raw cards, and then there are people that I know that just do ultra modern. They don't touch WotC, they don't touch vintage. They're all very workable, at least as of today. It's a massive market. There's plenty of room to have a successful business in any aspect. I think we have another question or two. Stuart asks, scenario question / topic. You pay $1,500 for a collection of 100 cards that are worth exactly $30 each raw. You can grade them for $15 each, in which case they would on average be worth $50 each graded. What do you do and why? The point of this topic is to see if you apply different logic when deciding your profit margins for collection purchases versus grading decisions. So basically what he's saying is you pay $1,500, so you're paying $15 a card. You can essentially just sell immediately for double raw, or you can add an extra $15 in each. So instead of being into it for $1,500, you can be into it for $3,000, and then you can turn it into $7,500 total graded. So for me, like I think it comes down to cash flow. If I were really in a tight spot cash flow wise, if that $3,000 today is more useful to me than $7,500 in 6 months, I would do the one to get the $3K today. Me personally, where I'm at, $3K today, I mean, this exact day, this exact instant, I'm fairly tight on cash flow just because of how much I've spent, but still like broader overall, even if it happened today, 3,000 doesn't help my situation significantly. So I'm sending them all out for 15 each grading. There is a bit of risk, but I think built into this question is that we feel pretty safe that they're going to be 15. Like, these are not cards that the knife is falling on them and they have risk of going down 50% over the 6 months of grading, or 2 months or 6 months, or however long you want to say grading is. So if it's sub 6 month grading, like we're seeing right now at PSA, I mean, we're seeing 18s come back in 2 months. We're seeing some 15s potentially coming back soon already. So yeah, I would absolutely grade, and I would take the $7,500 from the $3,000 investment tomorrow, next month, 6 months from now, as opposed to taking the $1,500 profit today.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that one. That's so, like, for me, any like WotC first edition holo that I feel is PSA 8 and above, I typically set all those aside for eventual grading. So I would probably do the same thing. I'd rather make that extra little bit in the long run than take that quick profit. And that's mainly because if it was back a few years ago when I didn't have the cash flow that I do today, I would probably take the quick profit. But now that I kind of have a little bit more cash flow, I'd rather take that bigger profit, even though it is going to take a lot longer. And especially now that PSA is getting caught up on their turnaround times. If this was back in like 2020 when or maybe 2021 when PSA was shut down or taking years to get cards back, I probably would have sold those cards raw. But now that PSA is kind of catching back up, turnaround times are getting to a semi-new normal. I'm definitely wanting to send more cards to PSA to kind of build up more of a graded inventory.
In another way, just to add some, like, it doesn't need to be black or white. It doesn't need to be all in one or the other. You could sell 80 of them for $2,400. And now you've got an extra 900 over what you put in. You use that, you use 300 of that to grade the remaining 20. That way you're already guaranteed locked into the profit on the lot. And then you have 20 that are going to come back in 3 to 6 months that you can sell for 50 each. So you've got a couple $100 profit up front, even accounting for the grading fees. And then you've got another several $100s of inventory coming back to you down the line. Like, that's almost always what I do. There's very rarely a lot that I buy, a collection that I buy, that is fully sold raw or fully graded. Like the one I just had a video Monday, that 23K collection buy. Some amount is consigned on Whatnot. Some amount is sent to Troll and Toad to be sold raw. And then some is graded with CGC and some is graded with PSA. That's almost always going to be the answer because conditions vary. Unless if I got a lot of 100 cards and every single one was gem mint quality, they're definitely all going for grading though. So that's just providing a bit of like an in-between answer too. Joe Schmo has a question. Why does Beckett get so much hate? I get for sellers PSA is better, but for a collector who likes to display cards, BGS just hits better sitting on a shelf. The PSA and CGC label takes away from the card. With PSA and CGC, your eyes go right to the label rather than the card. With BGS, the labels are much more eye-appealing, especially with modern cards. The alt art and full art look great in BGS. Why does PSA get so much hype? Is it because everyone on YouTube makes money off PSA? Is that why? I think a lot of hate they get comes from how bad their submission process is. I think they did do a recent website redesign, so maybe that's a little bit better. But that's partially. That said, PSA's submission system is not great either, so like maybe they do get too much hate for that. Me personally, I see PSA and CGC as the top dogs. I personally, like what you said, everything you said about the label, completely subjective. Me personally, I prefer, I've held and I've graded with all three companies. I've owned and held all three companies, slabs, labels, all that. I prefer CGCs the most. And then PSA and BGS, like I could go either way. It doesn't really matter to me. I think BGSs are like almost a little too bulky for me. Some people say that's more of a premium feel. To me, it's just more like if I have 10,000 BGS labs, it's going to take up that much more space. So to me, it's like not really a positive. If anything, maybe it's a slight negative. But overall, like, I think some amount of people just love to hate on things. So that might be some portion of their hate too. Like people just love to hate on things. A lot of people, like most Pokemon cards, especially like historically, have been graded with PSA. So a lot of people have vested interest in PSA remaining the top dog, and some amount of people will give you bias for that reason because they have a lot of money invested with PSA. Personally, I have a ton of money invested with PSA. I have a ton of money invested with CGC. I call both companies out on their bullshit. Like, I'm not gonna like be afraid to say something that's gonna devalue my position. Or I think all companies kind of suck, unfortunately. But BGS personally, I just between CGC and PSA, I think I have everything covered. I just see them as the third option that I don't personally need.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I can't stand on a personal level. I can't stand BGS. I think their cases and labels look absolutely hideous. And I've never tried to submit to BGS, so I can't really say anything about the submission form. But on a more like subjective level, the other reason why I don't like BGS is because once you get below like BGS 9, their grading becomes so inconsistent. I maybe it's just because I'm so used to the PSA grading scale, and CGC is pretty similar to the PSA scale. It does have its differences, but then when you look at BGS is just like so different from PSA. You can get BGS 8s, 8.5s that look absolutely terrible. So that's why I don't like BGS. And I think now that CGC's come along and has given us the option with the subgrades, I really don't see a need for BGS anymore. Before CGC, BGS was there for the subgrades and for the black label. Now CGC has the perfect 10, which I do think the black label is valued more than the perfect 10 for sure, but it also has the subgrade options, which I think kind of eliminates the need for BGS, and I can definitely see in the future PSA will always remain number 1. CGC has or probably will soon become number 2, and then BGS will be number 3.
Yeah. Yep, that's where I'm at. Last question from last episode, if you want to take that.
Yeah, so Mac Attack, question for the next episode. Caught myself watching the Arceus Chronicles on Netflix, and it featured Yuki, Azelf, and Mesprit, and it made me think immediately of the Time Space Distortion Japanese Holo that I have, and made me appreciate the card a lot more. The film also featured Heatran amongst other unpopular Pokemon, but I saw cards featuring those Pokemon in a new light. Outside of the original series, can you remember a moment where you had a newfound appreciation for a card due to a moment something? So let's see. I don't really watch anything Pokemon related. So I don't have that like connection like you had there. I'm trying to think. Not that I can think of, honestly. I mainly like the cards that I like and just stick with those. So for me, it's always been WotC. There's been a few modern cards that I've liked for one reason or another, but for me, it's always mainly been WotC stuff. Do you have any? I know you have one for sure.
Not really so well. The one, like the Shining Gyarados card brings me back to the game. That card, that's not something really that happened recently. But a lot of the cards that I like the most, similar to you, are WotC from my childhood. That nostalgic connection. Not really any of Pokemon's media specifically. Not really any of Pokemon's media that makes me, because I don't play the new games. I don't I don't really watch the new animes. A little bit here and there. My son gets into a Pokemon kick from time to time. But yeah, overall, like one of the biggest things that like broadened my horizons on cards was E4 years ago. I remember coming across some of the Japanese promos. When I finished my goal behind me of opening one of every box, when I finished like PSA 9 chase cards of all the chase cards I wanted to get, when I kind of like checked off all the goals in English, I turned to Japanese, and some different YouTube channels were there. E4 was there, different articles, different guides. And so like there have been times where a YouTube video or someone's comment or a post in Discord will turn me on to something new, but never really the anime or a video game that I can remember.
What about the Scarlet and Violet video game trailer?
Quaxley? I mean, Quaxley, any card that comes out featuring Quaxley, I'm going to have for sure heaps of. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Quaxley, it was love at first sight. I didn't know what you were referencing at first, but yeah, that's a good. Quaxley is like he's leering over the top of these booster boxes. Sadly, Squirtle Squad is down below, and you can't see him. He's somewhere. He's like behind the Neo Discovery, Neo Revelation, and Sky Rich boxes. He's just peeking back to a back wall of those booster boxes. But yeah, we're officially 43 minutes behind the chat. We've gotten through all the questions, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, we've gotten through all the questions from 2 episodes ago. So with that, we're 43 minutes behind, but we're gonna bear with us. We've got almost 3 hours to go. We're gonna be here till 4:30 approximately. Leave your questions in chat. We're just gonna hang out with chat. So anything else you have to say to wrap up before we get into the questions, or you want me to just start throwing them on screen?
No, let's go for it. I'm ready.
Okay. Dark Lava Lizard says, it's always us same degenerates in the chat of every live stream. Like, do none of us work real jobs during the day? Oh, man. Working is such a relative word in 2022. So let's see if we can find our first actual question. The Green Shiz says, how much of a bath did Dan take on the Whatnot consignment, the Whatnot auction? If you just want to recap that quickly, and if you have any thoughts you want to share.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Dan recently consigned a whole bunch of WotC and mid-era cards with me, and then he also consigned some cards to Echo Base Collectibles, who did his stream last Saturday. And then PokeFlipz, shout out to PokeFlipz, he'll be doing his Whatnot stream with Dan's cards tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Time, which I believe is 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to check that out. But I did my stream yesterday afternoon, and this was my first Whatnot stream in months. I believe my previous Whatnot stream was back in April or May of this year, and I just kind of stopped selling on Whatnot. So this was my first stream back. First off, I was absolutely blown away when I started my stream. Apparently my stream got promoted on Whatnot, which was absolutely awesome. So when I started my stream, I had the typical 10, 15 people in there. I put up the first card for auction, and I was kind of looking down to get the next few cards ready to put up. And all of a sudden, the number of viewers jumps up to like 50, 80, 100. And I think it peaked out at like a 105, which for someone with my following on Whatnot is unbelievable. So I was really excited about that. And then the viewers kind of quickly died down to 70, 80, and they kind of averaged between 30 and 40 the whole stream, which is really good for someone with my type of following on Whatnot, in my opinion. But in terms of the actual cards that I sold, so overall, I was pleased with the overall pricing. I thought for the most part, cards did decently well, similar to what they would do via an eBay auction. There were definitely some cards that went really, really cheap. I know if the Zard Hunter is still in here, he definitely got a lot of good deals from Dan's cards. For some reason, people on Whatnot do not like played condition Shadowless Hollows. I know, I want to say it was the Clefairy. Played condition sold for like $8, which really, really low in my opinion, for a played condition copy of that card. So some of the cards went really low. The majority of cards probably sold for around what you could get for through an eBay auction, maybe a little bit less. But at the same time, on Whatnot, the buyers are paying for the shipping, so that definitely helps out the cost on the seller's end, where the seller doesn't have to pay for shipping or anything like that. And then the fees on Whatnot are a little bit cheaper. I'm paying 8% plus 2.9% for the payment processing fee, so it's like 10.9% total. Whereas eBay is closer to like 13% for the eBay fees. So I would say I'm so perplexed on whether or not to do another Whatnot stream with my own inventory. Part of me really likes the idea of selling on Whatnot just because it is super, super easy to sell on Whatnot. You're live, so you show a quick video of the front and back and card. You can point out any flaws in the card, run the auction for 30 seconds. That card's ended in about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute. You're done with that card. You're moving on to the next card. Whereas on eBay, you have to create the whole listing. You have to wait that time frame for it to sell and all of that stuff. Plus, with Whatnot, all of the cards that you sell are going to be right in one area. Whereas on eBay, my inventory is kind of scattered across an entire room. So part of me likes the idea of selling on Whatnot. Another part of me likes the idea of sticking with eBay, just because with eBay, that's where the vast majority of my business is. So if I can take those cards that I would typically sell on Whatnot and sell them on eBay, then I could gain more followers to my eBay store. I might have people viewing those auctions eBay and then going ahead and purchasing something through the Buy It Now. So I'm kind of undecided right now on whether or not I want to kind of continue getting back into like weekly Whatnot live streams. Still thinking about that. But for Dan's stuff, I think it did decently well. Like I said, some of the cards went for pretty cheap, but most of the cards sold for around eBay pricing if you threw them up as a 99-cent auction. What'd you think on any of the cards that you saw sell? Were you happy with the pricing?
I didn't look too in depth. I'm probably gonna make like a video recap of the consignments. I'm actually gonna send one out to Josh now too, the old card shop, for him to give it a go. I think he also took some cards from Nick Retrospecs, who's been in the chat. But for me, it's like, I know that I don't have the time to sell these cards individually on eBay. Troll and Toad won't take them. They're not worth grading. So for me, it's literally getting money out of stuff that I just don't have the time to move otherwise. I could lot them all together in one listing on eBay or in a handful of listings on eBay. I think I'd get destroyed with prices if I were to do that. So for me to pay someone to move them on, I think that's the best route for me. Having chosen Nick, who had a 6, 7, 8 month dormant Whatnot account, might have been fairly questionable, but thankfully he's got the clout. He had that nice Whatnot push behind him. I don't know if that's because he has friends in high places, or maybe Whatnot sees that the account was dormant so long. Maybe they have some kind of an internal algorithm that like, hey, this guy used to sell through us. He hasn't sold in several months. He just started the stream. Let's pump him up to try to get him to stay. Like, I don't know if it was one of those two, but whatever the case, had that pump not come, I wonder how it would have went. But overall, like, the number that I got from Joe so far, the number I got from you, I'm sure Adam will do fine tomorrow. Like, it's better than I could have done myself, I think. So that's at the end of the day, that's what it comes out to, maximizing my inventory, and I think I did all right.
And the promotion did come from someone. It wasn't just a generic thing.
Oh, so Nick's got the clout. Nick's got the in. I mean, I benefited from it, so I'm happy. I'm happy about it. You want to take the question that Dark Lava Lizard asked?
Yeah. Can you move it up a little bit? Or you probably did already.
Yeah, I did.
Question. Is everything always up for sale and listed, or do you set back slabs and product and not even list them for prices you feel are appropriate despite market pricing? So for inventory wise, stuff that's outside of my personal collection or long-term investment plays, all of that stuff will eventually get listed on eBay. And I say eventually just because I have a lot of stuff that I still need to get on listed on eBay. I just haven't yet because of time. But ideally, everything that I have for sale outside of my collection will get listed on eBay, regardless of the price point. Like we were talking about earlier, I would rather sell cards for a minimal profit. In some cases, even lose money for cards that I purchased like back in the peak pricing. Never got around to listing, and I'm just getting around to listing it now. So I'd rather move those types of cards, clear out inventory, and get new stuff than hold on to cards for years and years and years. I am definitely not one who's big into like the investability aspect of Pokemon. I am definitely more interested in the business aspect of Pokemon, where I'd rather buy these collections, make a small amount of money, and then buy new collections than buy a collection, hold on to it for 2, 5, 10 years, whatever, and then sell the collection for an even bigger profit.
The Nick's a dirty flipper, and I am too.
Basically.
There are times where, like right now, I feel, and some of it's more emotional than logical, admittedly. Like, I feel like some WotC first edition hollows are too cheap relative to what some ultra modern things are doing. And it just doesn't make sense. And it hurts my feelings sometimes. But at the end of the day, the market is the market. And there's some amount of product that I had over the past year or two that I've been holding on to thinking this has better long-term prospects. What I try to do is I try to not price those as aggressively. If I think the price is bottomed, if I think the price is headed up in the short to mid-term, I try to price it a little more premium, maybe not lowest on eBay, but lowest 10 or 20% above the lowest, especially if my copy might be a bit cleaner or something. But at the end of the day, like it just all needs to be listed, I think. I think I just lagged a little bit. Hopefully the stream's not too bad.
I got that little circle of death there for a second.
Okay, hopefully it's back, but I do see a little bit of red on my OBS. Must be the neighbors are uploading some photos or something and shutting the whole street's internet down. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I always have some amount of product in process. I always have some amount of product that's not yet listed. I've been full-time for a little over a year and a quarter now. That pile's a lot smaller than it was. I keep buying though, so it's not shrunk as much as I would like it to. But there is a theoretical day, maybe 2 months out, maybe 5 years out, where everything will be organized, fully listed, fully available, ready to go. The things that I think are like when I get special delivery Charizard PSA 10 back, I am paper hands as can be. I look at low list, I go low list, I either run an auction or I go low list and I undercut and I check the price later that night, the next day. I force the sale by just being a paper hands and crashing the market on cards that need to crash. But like, I'm not going to do that with PSA 9 WotC Hollows. I'm not going to do that with cards that feel more undervalued in some respects. So everything is listed, very little. There are a couple things. Like I have a PSA 9 right now. I have a number 1 and the number 3 trophy that are not listed on eBay. I have a handful of things that are intentionally not listed on eBay, but a lot of things are available still, even if they're not listed. Some of them are publicly out there on my Instagram or elsewhere. Pretty much everything's available. It's a good question, though.
That is a good question.
Metasand asks thoughts on the pre-order price for V-Star Universe. They are pre-ordering for around 150 USD. I'm assuming that this is the next, what do they call them? High class set from Japan.
Yeah.
So I don't like, I'm really bad. I'm actually trying to get to where I buy 100 or so boxes of every Japanese release moving ahead. I do not like buying product at super high prices out of the gate when they're hypey, when they're stonky. Japan has showed us that they will reprint VMAX Climax. They will reprint EV Heroes. To me, this price feels really, really high. I am not touching it. I never touch hype pre-order prices. I'm fine missing out on sets. And if and when my contact for Japanese boxes comes to me with a price that just feels too high over historical other sets, I will just skip and I'll wait on a potential reprint. If and when one doesn't come, I won't lose any sleep. I won't feel like I missed out. If and when it goes from 150 to 300 a box, I'll be just fine. It's fine to miss out on things. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I've never been big into Japanese. I don't pay much attention to the Japanese market whatsoever, especially with modern. For modern, I'm pretty much exclusively English, so I don't have too much of a thought on this. I think it's a good thing. It means that Pokemon's in a healthy spot. But aside from that, I don't have much of a thought on that one.
Mr. Walrus says, good to see Nick make his bi-weekly contractually obligated appearance on YouTube. So that's a backhanded way of Mr. Walrus saying we need more old school content, old school Pokemon content. I like it, Mr. Walrus.
I don't know. It might happen eventually. We'll see. Right now,
don't lie to us. Don't lie to us.
Getting as much listed on eBay as possible, and getting as much listed on the website as possible for Christmas. Because Black Friday coming up in a few weeks. Favorite time of year, right there.
Give us a 10-minute video.
YouTube.
Give us a 10-minute video of you talking about your strategy going into the holiday season. Owning a website, owning an eBay store, owning a Pokemon business. The people need it. But Retro's got a question if you want to take that one for our next.
For your business, if you could only sell either vintage or modern slabs for the rest of your life, which would you choose? 100% vintage. No hesitation there. For me, the biggest thing is I need to enjoy what I'm doing. If I'm doing something that I don't enjoy, it feels more like work. And for me, I enjoy vintage more than modern. So for me, it would definitely be vintage, because I enjoy that aspect more so than modern. Plus, with vintage, I feel like you have a bit less competition. There's a bit more of a barrier to entry with vintage. Modern, literally anyone could go to a Walmart, buy packs, pull a hit card, grade it with PSA. So I feel like there's a little bit of a barrier to entry with vintage. There's less sellers selling vintage than modern. So I would always lean more towards vintage if I had to choose. But I do enjoy doing both to some extent. I do enjoy doing a little bit of modern for sure. But if I had to choose one, it would definitely be vintage.
Yeah, it's by a fairly narrow margin, but I would also choose vintage. The nice thing about vintage, I'll give the pros and the cons quickly of each. The nice thing about vintage is that the first sets will always be the first sets. So 50 years from now, if Pokemon's a thing, vintage it has that history, even though the print runs were really high. Like base set first edition is always base set first edition. That's kind of a pro for modern though too. Like as far as having a refreshing thing, like if I do this for the next 50 years of my life, I'll be doing the same base Jungle Fossil Rocket, Neo. I'll be doing those same sets and it will never change. It'll almost maybe get stale. Maybe I'll get like sick of seeing the same things over and over. Whereas if you do modern, presumably you'll do modern for 2 years, it'll be the Sword and Shield block, and then you'll be doing the new modern, which is like the Scarlet Violet block, and then every 2-3 years you'll be getting a new block. Your modern will always be changing. You'll always be doing something new. So that's kind of a pro and a con for each. Like one of them, I guess you could really get into like the nitty-gritty of all the in-depth stuff with vintage if you're just living and existing in that one place. Whereas with modern, you'd get things like to refresh over time. And demand wise though, like ultra modern is ultra demand, generally speaking. If and when we go into a lull period though, if things get dark, if things go down like they did, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Platinum, Diamond, Pearl, Old School, EX, ultra modern could really struggle. And probably proportionally to some extent, vintage would too. But I think that there could be a future 10-20 years from now where ultra modern is struggling more, yet you'd have higher prices and a better business. You'd have better liquidity on certain things in vintage. As of today, though, ultra modern rules liquidity over vintage, but that could potentially change over time. Hard to say. Good question, though. John Doe says, would you say Japanese boxes are currently a better investment than English? I do not personally like the I word, the investment word. I think both are great. Both Japanese and English boxes are great. You can do a lot with both of them. You can open them. You can sell them by the pack. You can sell them by the box. I think there's a lot of money, a lot of margin to be made in both. I don't know that one would necessarily be better than the other. Overall, I like English better, but I know a ton of people who are Japanese exclusive and do great business with it. So I think they're on par overall.
As much as I prefer English, I would honestly say, and I'm doing the complete opposite of what I'm about to say here, but I would honestly say Japanese boxes are probably a better investment right now than English boxes if you're looking at a short time frame. Just look at the VMAX Climax. Those got reprinted. They were down to $45-ish on eBay, somewhere around there. Now they're back up to $70-$75. EV Heroes was down to, it got down to like 115 was the lowest for a brief period of time there. Now it's already back up to $200 or so. There's really not many English boxes that have done that type of increase in such a short period of time. If you remove Evolving Skies, that's really
Brilliant
the only
Stars
one
is doing well. I mean, there's a lot of boxes doing pretty healthy. Yeah, it's all crazy. It's all crazy out there. But I like I said, I think there's room in both. It's hard to say. They've both had their moments to shine over the past few years, and right now Japanese might have the slight edge. But going back to that earlier question, like pre-ordering at 150, especially with the reprints that we just saw with EV Heroes and VMAX Climax, it's all risky business investing in ultra modern product that can be reprinted at any time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Question from our next guest. You want to take that one?
Peek-to-2, regarding being involved with a distributor, wasn't the rule that you couldn't be an online seller, but rather could only have a brick and mortar? Any recommendations on ones to look into? So back when Dan and I signed up, and until I think it was basically until 2020, you could open up an account with a distributor and order certain products without having a brick and mortar store. I know Pokemon didn't have any restrictions like that. I believe Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, probably some more too, are both where you have to have a brick and mortar store to order those products from distribution. But nowadays, I know I've told a few people to look into the two distributors that I work with, Mad Al and Southern Hobby, and both of those distributors, as far as I know, the last I heard from someone else, both of those distributors said that you had to have an actual physical location for them to accept you into their, for them to accept your application. So, biggest thing I would do, I guess, is to type in Pokemon distributors on Google. Pokemon has a whole list of all the distributors, and just start calling all the distributors outside of Mad Al and Southern Hobby. I'm really
call them
not
too.
sure.
Like
Yeah.
Put your name in, create, like, fill out the thing, say, can you call me back when you start taking online retailers? At some point in the future, they will take them again. But yeah, Nick covered everything, I think, there. Anyone who's watching this podcast right now, you have the time to just call. Like, there's not that many. What is there, like 12, 20 different wholesale distributors? Call them all. Over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, call them all, fill out the appropriate paperwork, talk to your accountant, get all your proper DBA, whatever things you need to do on your end. Just put your name in. Worst case they say is no. Best case, you start that relationship. Joe asks, do any of your distributors offer net 30 terms, or is payment due up front? Also, do you sell certain things at no profit that you got from distribution to help increase allocation on profitable items? I know that almost every distributor with certain accounts does net 30 terms. I'm quite certain. I personally have always been a prepay account. I've contemplated reaching out to my distributors and talking about net 30 terms and talking about paying through wire or paying by ACH instead of paying by credit card as I do. But as of right now, I pay with a high rewards credit card. I pay a credit card fee, but the two kind of wash themselves out. Right now, it's just like they're so busy, it's hard to get them on the phone oftentimes. At some point when we get back into a lull period, I probably will call them and try to arrange net 30 terms, pay by wire, pay by ACH, so that I can do that moving ahead. But on the second point too, through Troll and Toad Evo, there are certain products that I take and I sell at basically break even just because I'm not doing the actual work. I do try to actively increase my allocation across the board. So as of right now, yeah, there's definitely stuff that I just buy, break down, I pay Troll and Toad to break down, and I sell at like very slight profit, if any, just to increase my numbers there.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I pay for everything with my credit card. Similar to you, I really don't like having debt that I have to worry about. I'd rather have the whole bill come up front and then worry about making that money back afterwards. So the other part of the question, there's definitely products that I'll order, and between actual cost and time involved breaking them down, definitely lose money. But it helps to increase those allocations for the better products for sure. Like the collection boxes, a big one being the collection boxes. Collection boxes, I order a decent bit of every one of those. There's a lot of them that are absolute garbage. Like we just got the Hissoin Electrode V collection box. That one is a massive dud.
Yeah.
But then you'll get the Dialga and Palkia. What was the other one that just came out? The Deoxys one. That one just came out. That was a decent one. So there are good collection boxes, but there's also a lot of really bad collection boxes. But I do order a decent bit of everything to kind of increase those allocations on the better ones.
Aiden M asks, have you guys heard about Ludkin's Ludkin/PSA UK troubles going on, non-responsive to customers? PSA have graded the cards but can't return due to supposed cash flow problems. Even Nat Turner looking into it. I knew this one was going to come up today. I knew we weren't going to be able to avoid it. My take, I was linked this morning to the Neo Cards and Comics video. Videos like that are just getting clicks, playing into the drama. He provided no substance in his 10-minute video. He literally just said like rumor, speculation, out of context screenshots. Those videos drive me crazy because they do get tons of views and people are always like, oh yeah, drama, what's going on? Let's talk about it. I don't know enough to comment on what's going on. I don't think Ludkin's is going to be a Mark's card situation. As recently as last week, I heard of people getting back Ludkin's orders from November and December of 2020. As recently as probably this week, I've heard from Graded Gem, the US branch. And people need to realize that the Graded Gem US branch is distinctly different individuals than the Graded Gem UK, similar to Ludkin's. The Ludkin's US branch is distinctly different. I think Graded Gem did mix their payment systems. I think all payments were handled on the UK side by the Graded Gem at least. But Ludkin's, as far as I understand, and I already hate talking so much on things that I don't fully understand, but I think I understand more than the people making videos on it and stuff. But yeah, Ludkin's US and Ludkin's UK have distinctly different financials. All these different out of context Nat Turner, very unprofessional that he responds about customers, very unprofessional that he responds about business partners in DMs to random people from the public. But a lot of times people will circle what he said, they'll post what he said, and then I read it myself. The takeaway that they take from it is nothing at all what was stated in the DM. And the DM is completely out of context. So like these things just drive me nuts because context, I do know people involved. I know I'm friends with people at Ludkin's. I'm friends with people at Graded Gem. But the fact that Nat Turner is talking about these things in DMs, Ludkin's UK is literally on PSA's website as an approved submitter, as an approved middleman. So like for me personally, all this reflects back on PSA overall. Did Ludkin's, did Graded Gem, did they do things that got themselves in over their heads? Did they build way too much of a backlog just like PSA did? Compounding on it? Absolutely. It's all dumb. It's all crazy. I can't wait till it's all over. But like as far as all these, yeah, if you want to go ahead with what you got to say.
I didn't see that video. I'm gonna check that one out. But
it's literally nothing. It's 10 or 12 minutes of nothing, and then he has a pinned comment where he went back and he said, "Oh, I made an error with this." He was basically saying PSA UK Ludkin's deleted all their socials. They didn't delete all their socials because they're like scamming and leaving town with everyone's money. They deleted their Ludkin socials because they rebranded it and created new socials as PSA UK. So like that's how ill-informed the video was made, that he had to go back and pin a comment stating the obvious.
Yeah, those types of videos are definitely there to get clicks and make that ad revenue, gain subscribers, all of that stuff. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. As far as Ludkin's and the other middlemen companies, I think they definitely should have handled the situation better in terms of knowing their own capacity and not exceeding their capacity. Just because now that all of these cards are getting flooded back to them, it's taking them a lot of time to get orders back to all their customers. So they definitely could have handled the situation better. Obviously, there's nothing they can do about that now. I'm sure they used it as a big learning experience themselves and won't let it happen again. But as far as like Ludkin's doing something like Mark's cards, definitely don't see that happening. I think it's just going to take time for them to get cards back to people.
Yeah, I can't wait till it's over, but the Mars card situation was crazy, and I think PSA actually had them listed as one of the official middlemen. None of this would have happened if PSA properly managed the backlog and properly closed tiers down when they took in 10 million plus cards that they couldn't reasonably service in under a year. So it's bad business compounded by bad business, both on the part, some extent, of the middlemen taking in too many that they couldn't handle and PSA taking in too many that they couldn't handle. But overall, like, I've not seen or heard anything that actually makes it look like Ludkin's is going to be a Mars card situation, because as I said, people are getting them back. I haven't gotten one back in several months. I have 3 outstanding orders, 1,200 cards total. I mean, if and when I get scammed, if and when they actually don't ever come back, if and when I have actual information of substance, I would talk about it, but I don't, and nor do these people commenting on it. All they have is DMs from that he should not be sending, because one that I saw some time ago, people were mixing up Graded Gem and Ludkin's in the same DM, and it looked as if some people thought as if he was talking about Ludkin's when he was actually talking about Graded Gem UK, and it's just a very messy situation, and it's very unprofessional for a CEO of a company to be spending some of his time answering random people from the public, just furthering the confusion. Absolute insanity. But anyways, that rant over with. Minilopo18 asks, how many people here actually do bookkeeping of their P&L and balance sheets though? You both give good advice, but I would love to know how much actually gets used. I think this is in reference to our answering the question earlier about cash flow, the 100 card situation. Would you sell them all today for the 3K or would you grade them in the future? I probably do more than most people because I love spreadsheets, but I actually do I don't do them by the month as I should, but I actually do like monthly cash flow spreadsheets. I do, here's all my gross sales, net sales, Troll and Toad, eBay, whatnot consignments, PayPal, convention sales. I mean, at the end of the year, you have to have all that put together to give to your accountant anyway so that they can file your taxes. So I do it periodically throughout the year, not as frequently as I should, but I think a lot of people just completely wing it. And I think a lot of people, you ever watch the movie Dodgeball? I picture most people's situation the first time they use an account is like, here's my closet, here's what my all my receipts, here's like, I think some people think you actually give all your receipts, you give your whole spreadsheet, you just here's my password for my eBay account, log in and like sort out all my taxes. That's not really how it works. Like, you need to summarize.
Nice. I would love that.
Yeah, you don't give them like a 10,000 row CSV file and then they do everything. Like, you need to provide some kind of a summary document. The more you do on your end, the less you pay and the more accurate it all ends up. But yeah, I think some people, when they hear like use an accountant, they think you literally just like print off all your eBay receipts and then hand them a banker's box of 10,000 unsorted receipts, and they like do something with that. That's not how it works. Unless that's just me. Like, maybe I do too much work. Maybe everyone else's accountants are doing everything for them, but that's at least my understanding.
No, I think you're pretty spot on there. I used to do like collection breakdowns and like record every single card that so the initial cost of a collection, then every single card that I sold, all the fees, all the shipping, all that stuff. I don't do that anymore. It was kind of fun keeping track of that when I was purchasing one collection, selling it, and then buying another collection. But now it would just be way too much work to keep track of all that stuff. So I don't do that anymore. But I do, or hypothetically, I do monthly breakdowns where I record how much I sold, how much I spent to get me a monthly profit. And then at the end of the year, I just I have 12 Excel spreadsheets. And then at the end of the year, I grab all those numbers from each month and input them into one spreadsheet. And that's what I give to my accountant to do all my taxes. But I gotta catch up on that. So the thing is, if I keep up with it each month, it's really not bad. But once I fall behind 1 month, then it's like, well, I'm already a month behind. Why as well just hold off and for a little while, and then it becomes 2 months behind, 3 months behind, so on and so forth. I've done up till I have to do July onward right now. So at some point, I got to sit down and do all those monthly breakdowns.
I'm probably around July too, unfortunately. Lee made a comment. I don't know if this is like a joke or if it's real. PSA is only popular because of YouTube. I mean, that's a pretty interesting comment. Like, PSA was the only one grading Pokemon really for a long time. I mean, Gary and Ed were kind of pioneering that space, but well before Pokemon YouTube, PSA, way back to the Ken Golden open mouth YouTuber on QVC, used car sleazy used car salesman, when he was shilling all those PSA 10 investment pieces on QVC for absurd prices. PSA's always been the go-to for Pokemon, and I don't even like saying that because I don't like PSA. I probably like them the least of all, but that's just not rooted in reality, if that's a serious comment. Let's see. Dan just likes giving money to both companies. It pains me how much money I give to PSA. It actually causes me physical pain when I go through.
But then you see how much money you make from those from that money, and it hurts a little bit less.
That soothes the pain. That's the medicine for the pain that is created. Absolutely. We're like 30 minutes behind now, so we've caught up on 10 minutes worth. So we're doing good. Trying to find the next question.
We've caught up on 10 minutes in an hour. That's not doing very good.
Yeah. Right now I'm at 142. I'm trying to find the next question. Oh no, I just skipped. There's not been a question for a while, so we're making good moves here. If any questions get skipped, feel free to just leave them again in the chat. I'm trying to get caught up though. Going to get the Pokemon Pumas.
Did you see? Dan skipped your question. It means he hates you.
Yeah. Did you see the new shoes that are coming out? Apparently, a collaboration with Puma.
Man, I've missed all this stuff. Where have I been?
You're not in Discord. No. That's anytime anything shoe related happens, I can always count on Peak That Shoe to link me and tag me. So our guest next episode linked me and tagged me in the Pokemon Puma collaboration. I asked him, I said, do you think it will land under my $30 budget, my $30 price point for the dad shoes I normally buy? Unfortunately, they probably won't. They'll probably exceed my shoe budget. So I think I buy like one pair of shoes every 3 or 4 years, and I run them until they're falling apart. I go with like the New Balance or the standard dad shoes.
Oh God! Pretty soon you're going to be getting those black Velcro.
Yeah. Basic Trainer. What do you guys think about Moonbryon? You want to start there? I'm sure mostly a joke question, but he actually probably wants to hear.
I'm absolutely blown away. Like we said in the beginning, when Mason was on a month or two ago, it was at 750, somewhere around there, and we were all saying that card is at its peak, going to be going down, way too expensive. And now, a month or two later, it's doubled in price. Population is still rapidly increasing. Still like a 50-50 shot on whether you're going to get a 9 or a 10. So, in my opinion, I do not understand it whatsoever. I do not know why people are paying these prices for that card. Does it not make any sense to me whatsoever.
It makes dollars though. Shout out Basic Trainer.
Who's the end consumer?
Not
are
me.
People buying the card because they want it? Or are they buying it because they think it's going to go up more?
Unfortunately,
doesn't make any sense to me.
I have to talk about it more than I would like because I do content that's Q&A based and I have to. But like Moonbryon's price literally has no effect on me whatsoever. I can't control it. It doesn't affect me. I don't care. It's interesting how crazy it's gone. It's gone well in excess of what I thought. If and when I ever buy a collection that has one in it, I will sell it. If and when I ever pull one and I grade it a 10, I will immediately sell it at today's prices. That said, it could double from where it is. It could go up a ton. It could go down a ton. I have no idea, and I don't even care that much. One thing that I do kind of like, though, like the fact that it's doing what it's doing, Evolving Skies is doing what it's doing, people care. People like this stuff. It's healthy, I think. It's good. Like, it's a little bit unhealthy in some respects, but in other respects, it's like, man, I feel good about doing this full time because there's a lot of money going into it. There's a lot of interest going into it. So that's really my only takeaway from it. And I will say, shout out Basic Trainer. Go check out. He actually has a YouTube channel now. For a long time, he was just making the rounds. He'd be a part of everyone else's lives, but he went live for the first time recently. It was like late on the 30th. It was actually went into Halloween a little bit. I missed it live, but I caught it the next day. Go check out Basic Trainer and give him a like and a sub. Your average player asks question when starting out flipping. How did you guys know when to pull the trigger on a play? This is more related to high cost plays when having a reserved liquidity. One thing I've frequently said is make sure that you don't go broke buying good deals when it might make you miss a great deal. And I think this question is kind of framed at that. A lot of it's a feel thing. A lot of it's like everyone is different. Everyone's situation is different. Whether you have 5K a month. Say you're grossing sales of 60K a year. You've got roughly 5K a month that you're buying and selling and profiting by adding to your inventory, not really pulling any money out. That was a point that I was at some time ago. These days the numbers are just a fair bit bigger. But whatever your number is, be aware of what your number is, and you just need to allocate, like, some amount of it is guesswork. If and when an amazing collection comes up that's gonna like strap you, if you're gonna have to carry a little bit on a credit card interest-free loan for 30, 45 days to get a 10K collection bought, the biggest one you've ever bought so far, you just need to keep good stock on your P&L statements, on your cash flow, so that you don't go over. And you need to know that if you spend 10K on a collection when you're normally spending 5K per month, that is gonna strap you for the next 2 months, and you might miss some good deals in the meantime. So the juice has got to be worth the squeeze. You got to just take into account your current situation. Are you gonna spend 10K and make 30K on it? Or are you gonna turn 10K into 40? Well, then it's almost definitely always gonna be worth it. If it's 10K to make 5K though, and you're usually spending 5K to make 2K, well, yeah, you're gonna make about 20-25% more profits. But strapping yourself for 2 months, being that thin, that tight on cash flow, won't be worth it if it's not like substantially better profit margins than you're used to making. I know that there's no like people want specific, just punchy answers that get right down to it, a formula to follow, a rule to follow. That doesn't really exist. A lot of it's just by feel.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, especially the first part. Don't buy all the good opportunities and miss out on the great opportunities. That's the biggest thing right there, is to always have that little nest egg of funds available for when those really good opportunities do come up. And be sure to check your Instagram messages every so often so you don't miss out on those great opportunities.
That 23K collection that I bought, he was in Nick's DMs too.
But back in the beginning, I would literally take every single card, or the cards that were worth a bit of money outside of like the bulk stuff, make a spreadsheet of all of the what I could get for all of those cards, add it all up, and then multiply it by whatever multiplier I was using, whether that be 60, 70, somewhere in there, 80%, whatever. And then base my offer around there. And if we were able to work something out in that price range, then I would go for it. Nowadays, I have more money to play with. I'm a little bit more confident in my abilities, so I don't do that as much anymore. But when I was first starting out, that's what I would do for every single collection. It takes a tremendous amount of time. But if you're first starting out, not confident whether or not it's a good deal or not, that's the best way to go about it. Or better yet, have the person selling the collection have a like a TCG player inventory list of all the pricing. Then it becomes really easy for you as the buyer.
You want to take the next question from Wilt?
Wilt, are there any psychological tactics you use when negotiating for a collection? For example, mentioning how difficult they are to sell in the current market, so they consider a lower offer, etc. I'm terrible with this type of stuff. I usually am very upfront with people, very straightforward, saying, so if it's like a typical collection with hollows, non-hollows, stuff like that, I'll typically tell people I buy bulk at whatever price point. I pay 60% on these hollows. I pay 70% on these hollows. And if you want to take that, go for it. Otherwise, I really can't do much more than that. I don't really get into the whole, it's going to take me time to break the collection down, grade all the cards, list all the cards, sell everything, so on and so forth, to try and pick it up for a better price point. That's probably a good strategy to use, but at the same time, I've always liked to be like more upfront with people, being like those types of tactics, like talking about how much work is involved. It is truthful. There is a lot of work involved, but to me, it kind of seems like shady, like you're trying to pull something over on someone. And I've just really never done that. I've always been like upfront, straightforward people. So for me, I've never done that. But how about you, Dan? What are your thoughts on that one?
It's like the sleazy used car salesman thing. When you're talking about your trade-in, oh, it's got this, it's got that. It's like, I know exactly what it has and doesn't have. Make me an offer. You don't need to talk it down or talk it up. Like, I know what it is. Make me an offer and I'll take it or not take it. That's the way that I go about buying collections. I always like, and if someone comes to me with a collection that I don't think is best for me to buy, if I think Nick is a better buyer, I say, hey, go email Old School Pokemon. Go email Rusty. Go email, like, I'm not the best guy for this. I like, there's enough collections out there that I buy enough just saying like, hey, here's my offer. I don't think many people will beat me. Like, when I see a collection that I want, I'm going to pay a number that I think most people will not beat me. If you want to shop around, like, I don't like the whole, one thing I don't do is like, hey, here's what I have, make me an offer. And then they take my offer and they go shop it around. It's like, if you have a collection that you have a price on, shop it around with anybody. If the collection is 30K OBO, you want to shop it around with everybody you want to shop it around with, I'll make my offer of 23K. If and when we agree on it, and it's done. And I'm going to be a serious cash buyer with actual money. There's going to be no like payment plan. There's going to be no screwing around. It's going to be paid in full. So yeah, I don't get into the whole like, I if and when they don't take my number, it's on to the next thing. It's not like I need to weasel them into taking my number. It's never that. Same thing on the selling side. I have this card for this price. If you want it, I'm not going to talk about the investment potential and how great this card is. And I'm not going to do on either side the slimy tactics. I don't need any individual sale. Sales happen, buys happen. I don't force them. That's where I'm at. And I think Nick, yeah, very much echoing what Nick said. Jam 510, a Dan question, but Nick, feel free to weigh in. Got 8 base 2 long crimp packs for about $100 per. I'd like to keep 4 sealed for my PC to maximize profits without would grading them make the most sense. If they would grade 10s, almost certainly. If they wouldn't grade 10s, probably not, but it's hard to say. Pack grading is $50 per. Pack grading is one of the hardest things for me to understand. I cannot look at a pack and tell you if it's going to get a 10 or not. I submit in volume, and then overall, the percent of 10s that I get versus 9s versus 8s, it usually works out to make sense. I'm comfortable on a large lot of packs what rough percentages I'll get. But as far as submitting one of each, that's risky to me, and I would probably pursue personally methods to sell them raw as opposed to just grading 4.
Yeah, I do not trust pack grading. Obviously, if you get 10s, you're gonna do really well. But like you said, there's no way to tell whether you're gonna get 10s on. There's no rhyme or reason to pack grading. But I thought, okay, I missed the base too. So I was gonna say, I thought you were talking like shadowless packs for $100. I was gonna say that was a really good deal. I would just sell those loose.
It was still a good deal, I think, for base 2 even.
Yeah, but yeah, I would definitely lean more towards selling them raw or selling them ungraded versus spending $50 to grade them, just because, like Dan said, there is no rhyme or reason to pack grading. Whereas with cards, you can kind of tell, okay, this one might get a PSA 10, this one's got a good shot at PSA 10, blah, blah, blah. Pack grading, I do not think that exists. I think all it is the graders throwing darts at a dartboard.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Professor Birch asked, thoughts on selling at craft shows / pop-up flea markets, less card sellers to compete with, and craft shows equal kids and moms. This is alternative I'm going to try next year besides selling at Collecticon. I've never tried it, but one time actually, we have what's called, with like half an hour, 45 minutes from me, they call it like the world's largest yard sale, world's largest garage sale. It's like all different kinds of crafts and knickknacks. Some people make different kinds of foods that they sell, like sauces and spices and things like that. And some people literally bring things that you'd see at a yard sale. Years ago, I forget what year it was, but I brought my sister was selling, my sister and my wife were selling some different kind of crafty things they did, and I brought some Pokemon packs, and they actually sold reasonably well. Cash sales, I didn't kill it, I didn't make thousands, but I probably made like a couple $100. Hung out with my wife and sister for an afternoon. Like it was fine, but it wasn't like a huge, these days it wouldn't be like a reasonable enough portion of my business to make it make sense from that perspective, probably.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I think it depends on like years ago, I probably would have been interested in something like that for sure. Nowadays, not so much, just because I don't have as much time anymore. But yeah, so if you're like a smaller seller, I guess, in-person events, even if it's outside like collecticons, like just like your local flea markets, stuff like that, they're a lot of fun because you get to interact with people and actually talk to people instead of just every day it being emails and messages and stuff like that. So that whole aspect of it is a lot of fun. Plus you're making money. Cash sales are always good. But yeah, if you're someone who's doesn't have as much time and wants to make a killing at one of these, probably not the best way to do it, but it's always worth a shot. You never know. You could do really, really well there. You're not going to know until you try it out. So I would say go for it.
Yeah, it's worth the spend of an afternoon to see how your local one compared to Nick's local one compared to my local one. Probably very different markets, very different clientele. Give it a shot, and worst case, you might waste an afternoon. Tables at those things are usually like $20, 25, like pretty cheap, relatively speaking. No flights, no hotels, like the bar's a lot lower, so just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I noticed this, Mr. Setting up the live stream without putting a link to my website. Thanks a lot.
I made a note on one of my yellow envelopes because I don't have a pad of paper near me. I'm going to put your website in the description.
And coming soon, we'll have an OSP5 code.
There we go.
I haven't set it up yet, but on my next batch of business cards, I copied Rusty and made my own TCA5.
Use code OSP5 for your future orders on oldschoolpokemon.com for 5% off.
Reeks asked, a lot of talk around pricing of Moonbryon and SDC and PSA feeling crazy and should come down, but no one talking about special delivery Bidoof PSA 10 being $700 to $800 justified for a free card. I do not know pops on these cards. I've heard Bidoof is pretty tough in a PSA 10 though. So I would say it kinda sorta makes sense because it is harder to grade. The whole special delivery line, I really like those cards. Right now there's only 3 cards in the whole set, so it's pretty easy and affordable to get the whole set. So I can see that kind of sort of making sense. That is definitely the PSA 10 premium. You can buy 9s for a lot cheaper than that. So to me, it kind of sort of makes sense. Definitely more so than the Moonbryon and special delivery Charizard right now, just because we have more of them available. But we definitely will see more Bidoofs being graded as PSA 10s. So I would say the longer you can wait, the better off you'll be in terms of the pricing going down even further. But to me, that one makes a little bit more sense than the Moonbryon or even special delivery Charizard. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a spectrum. Almost none of this makes sense. That's one of the things that makes slightly more sense than some things, slightly less sense than other things. But in my opinion, 95% of prices in the hobby are not super justified. It all feels very, very expensive to me relative to my opinion on it versus the market's opinion on it, I'm selling almost everything just because everything feels good or high, personally. So I don't have too much more to add that on that in particular. Your average player says, question, do you think with the MSRP hikes coming in 2023 that Pokemon will have to increase pull rates to make people interested in opening packs? No.
Absolutely not.
People play the lottery. People play the lottery. The lottery was just $1 billion and people keep playing it and playing it. Their odds are until the odds of pulling Moonbreon, the next Moonbreon, whatever it is, are 1 in 100 million. I'm not worried about pull rates being astronomical because people are bad at math. People hear 1 in 1,000. They don't know what that means. People's minds can't comprehend it. They just buy and they rip and they do the scratch offs and they buy the lotto tickets. We're good. We're good.
And then look at people on Whatnot spending $6, $7, $8 a pack. It's absolutely insanity. So I don't think Pokemon will have to do anything whatsoever with the pull rate. Even if they do increase their pricing. And just because MSRP increases, MSRP doesn't mean much right now. Look at you can buy basically any box outside of Brilliant Stars and Evolving Skies for well below MSRP.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Kind of a meme question, but I actually had a note to ask you this. Brandon Baker, he was in, I had office hours this morning. Every Thursday morning, I do office hours in the Pokenomics Patreon. I found out that I'm apparently like the only one in the world that puts packing slips in my orders for eBay. I thought you were the weird one, but apparently I'm the weird one. So Brandon asked, why is Dan the only person who includes a packing slip in his orders? Someone specifically asked me, like, they sold for the first time through eBay Authenticity Guarantee. And I said, make sure you include a packing slip because the packing slips have a barcode on them that they scan when they, but a lot of people were saying like, oh, I've sold through eBay Authenticity Guarantee a ton of times, never included a packing slip, and it's always been fine. Like they must just use the code. They either use the external tracking, they use the barcode that USPS generates, or they use the code that shows up on the in the address label. But yeah, for me, like I've always used packing slips on everything, 99-cent singles, all the way up to whatever. From a buyer's perspective too, I like getting packing slips, and I think most use them. By no means everybody, but more than half, I think. The majority of people use them, I think. It allows me, when I buy like 20 copies of a card, it allows me to tell whose was whose without having to look at the return address and do like detective work to figure out. So yeah, there was like 10 people in there though, and I think 9 of them don't use packing slips, and I was the only one who did.
Yeah, we like to save the planet and reduce, reuse, and recycle, Dan. Unlike
that was one of the first things someone said. I looked back at my eBay. I've sold 66,000 items on eBay. That's 66,000 sheets of paper that I've wasted, apparently. But one thing,
be a couple trees right there.
One thing that we came up with in that discussion was that at my scale, like you actually mentioned earlier, I think this was pre-recording, you have 100 orders to package today or something. Like it blows my mind how you pull 100 items and then don't mix them up. Like a lot of people in the chat were basically saying, I'm small scale, I sell 1 or 2 items a day. A lot of days I don't sell anything. So when you pack and when you have to pull and pack 2 items, you're not going to mix them up. It's like Bob bought the Moonbreon, Dale bought the Quaxley, whatever. And you just pull them and you pack them and you don't screw up. But when you pull, like I had to pull 20 orders this morning. That's not a ton, but I don't want a stack of 20 things that I need to worry about mixing up the order. So I use the packing slip to make sure, do a double check. Mind blowing.
No, I just maybe that'll be my next video. I'll record me packaging orders in the morning so you can see how
I've asked for that. I want to see it. I want to see it bad. Do it for me.
that'll be maybe I'll do it Monday so you guys can so it's like an impressive day instead of my usual day. But yeah, no, I've never used packing slips. I don't know why. I've just always there's like no rhyme or reason to why I don't. For me, it's always just been something that I've just never done it that way. For me, I've always done it where I separate. So like I take I go through my eBay sold. I pull each card in order. I make different piles. So I'll make a pile of all the PWEs. Then I'll make a pile of all like the single cards going in bubble mailers and all the graded cards going out. And then I'll go to my computer, take the PWE pile, check off all of those ones, print those ones, take the single cards, check off all those ones, print those ones, do the same thing with the graded cards. Overall, it works out just fine for me. There have definitely been a few occasions where I've printed all my PWEs or printed all of my labels. It's happened to both, but print everything, start packaging everything. I'll get to the last card that I have in the stack of PWEs and I'll package that one, realize I have one extra PWE. So then you have to go back through every single one of them and figure out what went wrong, which absolutely sucks, especially on PWEs because you're making very little money on those anyway.
How often does that happen?
Very rarely does that happen. What was that?
How often approximately? Like how many times have you done that? Because I would do that a full one time and then I would use packing slips forever.
Now I would say maybe a couple times a year, 3 to 5 times a year, maybe.
That's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
That sounds miserable.
It's not as severe each time. Like sometimes I'll pick it up within the first few orders. Other times it's like you have to go through the whole thing. So it just depends, but I still think it's easier to not do the packing slips. I don't know.
We'll both have to record and upload our processes so that people can see. I think it'd be interesting. I think I've shown it's weird though, because like with packing slips, with shipping labels, you don't want to just show a bunch of random people's addresses. I'll have to figure out how to show it properly. But maybe I did a video like over a year and a half ago maybe on how I pack and ship stuff. Maybe I'll do one in the next few weeks that includes like how I make my pile, packing slip, label, item, and I have a stack of 20. I mean, sometimes when I send out offers and I'm doing it on a Monday, I've had 200 items before too. And I have 3 or 4 stacks, 50 cards each, packing slip, label, item, packing slip, label, item. And when it's like $1,000 item or a $5,000 item, you bet that I am like double, triple checking. Okay, Bob, this is the right card. I take more care when I know that it's a really expensive card because I have screwed up. Even using packing slips, I've screwed up and I've fulfilled the wrong card or I've swapped 2 people's cards, but I do it way less than I would if I didn't use them for sure.
Yeah. That's just one thing about me. I treat all my customers the same. I don't give special treatment to the people who buy high-end cards.
Oh, if you buy high-end cards, you're getting double, triple checked to make sure you get the right item. If you're buying a $1.79 MetaZoo single off my eBay, boom, like one shot, go. Maybe I'll stop printing packing slips for those.
Oh man. But yeah, that'll be my video. I'll try and do that I'll try and do that for Monday. I think that'd be cool.
That would be. I'd be interested. I'm looking forward to it. So you better follow through. Your average player question: do you guys think that Europe will ever get more than one distribution center, as Modi has a huge monopoly on Pokemon distribution in Europe, except from a few countries? I have no idea. I have no idea what the European distribution setup looks like. I think it's news to me. I've probably heard it before, but I didn't retain it. It's kind of news to me that there's only one, but Pokemon is seemingly doing pretty well with what they have. I know this is probably not what you want to hear, but why do they go through and change if they're able to sell out all their product instantly all the time anyways? What's their motivation to get better, especially when they're like branching out into China now, apparently?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see much changes with Pokemon distribution until something happens where Pokemon is starting to lose money, not selling as much, all of that stuff. But for now, the short term, I don't think we'll see any changes.
So we got a couple quick hitters here, mostly meme questions, but I'll ask him. Mr. Walrus asked, when is Nick getting into the sitting cutie game? Even he got a few. Anything on that?
I do have one sitting cutie, thanks to Dan. I got
he's got the Ninetales. Yep. So he's in.
But no,
I gave him his free sample, and I thought it was gonna get him hooked. It didn't work, so maybe someone needs to gift him one more, and then he'll go down the rabbit hole. Maybe. Oh, no, I see.
It's not gonna happen.
I see you already replied to Thrifty. I was gonna ask if going to Salem made you consider selling singles of MetaZoo. Thrifty, he did tell me that I should, because there's not many people doing it on TCG Player. I didn't see that before. Vandy confirming in the comments, as an accountant, all receipts that he get go straight to the cash. Do not give your accountant a pile of receipts, please. None of them want it. They want, like what Alex was talking about earlier, they want a cash flow statement. They want like one sheet, maybe 2 sheets if you're a big business that does a lot. All your accountant should need generally is a quick summary. Yep. Oh, I just jumped to the beginning. Mr. Walrus asking Vandy in the chat, you're an accountant and are paying taxes important. Yes. Let's see. Swami says, how do you guys feel about skipping the Moonbryon conversation? Sorry, Swami. We dropped the ball on that one. He asked that 30 minutes ago.
Talked about Moonbryon twice.
Part of the reason Moonbryon is doing what it's doing is because everyone is always talking about it, and that just feeds into the beast that is Moonbryon. Let's see. The Green Shiz Collectibles says, Nick, now that you travel for MetaZoo, when are you traveling again? Did you get all the free items you were hoping for? Did you also lose to Queen MetaZoo? And when are you going to be partnered like Dan?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Jake, Pokenomics, and I went out to Salem for the Seance release of MetaZoo. And the reason we did that was because we both live like an hour away from Salem, so it really wasn't that far from us. And Salem is really like Halloween in Salem is like a huge deal. I'd never been Halloween weekend, so I wanted to go to check out just what Salem was like, and it was really cool. There was an unbelievable amount of people there. And we did the whole Seance release party, which that was cool to check out. Probably wouldn't go to one if I had to travel any type of distance, but where we were so close, it was cool to check out. Definitely don't think I'll become a partner in MetaZoo like Dan.
Java has a question, which I actually have an experience to share. I think we talked about it a little bit in the Denver recap, but how do you choose to deal with sellers that have a great collection but have very unrealistic price in mind? Is there negotiation there, or do you just pass? Remember that binder we had come up, Nick? It was probably it was probably a $40,000 or $50,000 binder. Beautiful collection, first edition base, Charizard, French, first edition base, not like mint condition, but he thought they were mint condition. Blastoise, Venusaur, like these were they were $1,000+ multi-$1,000 cards, and he had a lot of them. He had some. He actually had a mint. It was probably a PSA 9 base unlimited Charizard, which again is like $1,000, $1,500, somewhere in that range. It wouldn't have got the 10 though, but we looked at his cards. I got a bad feeling. He didn't want to give prices. And I'm like, I tried coaxing one out of him. And I'm like, you came to me, you're looking to sell. You kind of got to give me like a ballpark starting price. He's like, no, give me an offer, give me an offer. Part of the reason I didn't throw an offer first is because I generally don't. Because generally, when someone is trying to sell something and they don't have a price, they're not that serious about selling it if they haven't gone to the lengths of getting a price. We were talking not about the whole binder, just about the Dracofew, the French Charizard. He said $40,000. It was beautiful. It was probably a PSA 9. It was not a PSA 10, but it was a beautiful copy. It was probably worth, I don't know what a PSA 9 French first edition Charizard is, but it didn't even matter because he was asking 40K. And I just said, it's a beautiful card. It's great. And then immediately he's like, oh, 20K. So he dropped his price 50% in 3 seconds. And I'm like, okay, you're still, I didn't say this to him, but I'm thinking like, this is not going to happen. I said, you have a great binder, but like, you should probably get him graded. I mean, definitely he should get those cards graded, but if I had offered him 2K on the French Charizard, he would have like, Catch 'em All Collectibles is a scammer. Like if I had offered him a reasonable number on any one of those cards, he would have thought I was a scammer. There was no good that could have come from me throwing out a number. So I just said I would look into getting them graded, and if you want to like optimize, get the most money out of them. But yeah, that's how I dealt with it. Generally just pass. Because people get really angry when they think they have $500,000 and it's crazy though, because like he still had probably 50K in that binder. Because there was a ton of great stuff. And maybe it was only
millions.
Oh yeah, he thought he had at least $500,000. He thought he probably had $1 million in that binder for sure. Which telling him he just lost 90% or 95% of what he thought he had would not go over well. So yeah, that was a weird situation.
But yeah, I would pretty much agree with there. It's it's really not worth the time and effort to try and work with those people. Even like showing them eBay sales. Okay, your cards are worth this. This is what the market values these cards at. It's really not worth it because the people have in their mind those cards are worth that much. And you're probably not going to change their mind if you're that far apart in. They're just going to think you're trying to pull something over on them, and you're probably never going to work out a deal. So it's best to just thanks for showing me those. You should probably grade them, like Dan said, and then move on from there.
Yeah. Walrus had a funny comment there, but on to the next serious question. Did you see Pokey Chloe? I did see this on Instagram, actually. She pulled 5 Moonbreons last night. Back on the Moonbreon talk.
I did see that. I saw that one.
I was going to ask in the comments, but someone already had. She pulled 5 Moonbreons in under 300 packs. So you know what people, the first, like, I'm sure someone asked her, what was the product, regional pull rates, ETBs have the best pull rates or the worst pull rates, or blisters have the best. I don't subscribe to any of that kind of stuff, but like, I'm sure a ton of people are like thinking, oh, well, she pulled 5 from 300 packs. Statistical anomaly. When millions of these packs are printed and millions are opened, you're going to have hot streaks where a lot of cards get clumped, a lot of cards get pulled. I don't think like whatever product she opened them from just has higher hit rates. I don't think necessarily there's a regional distribution issue where wherever she bought her product from just was hot with all the Moonbreons. I think it was just a statistical anomaly that's going to pop up from time to time. And shout out TCA Gaming too. Thanks, Rusty. I see we're under raid. We're under attack from Rusty's viewers.
We're under attack from Rusty.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's just she got extremely lucky with that. Pretty jealous. That must have been awesome to open that many in such a few amount of packs. But I think it was all just that. It was all just luck. Someone's got to win the lottery. That's basically what happened there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like hundreds of millions of people play it. If you play it, you're not going to win it, but someone is. Like someone out there does win it. It's 1 in 200 million, 300 million odds. At the end of the day, someone does win it. It's just not going to be you or me, probably.
Hey, you gotta open packs to win.
Pokey Martin also puts packing slips in his orders, so I'm not alone completely.
Pokey Martin, you're a weirdo putting packing slips in there.
And just quickly, while we have Rusty's new viewers coming in, rating what this is, if you're unfamiliar, is the PokeFlipz podcast. Myself, Catch 'em All Collectibles, and Nick, Old School Pokemon. We hang out every couple of weeks every other episode we have a guest. So this week, this episode, it's just us. 2 weeks from now, we'll have special guest Pikachu. But we basically just do a live Q&A. We do a live Q&A. Sometimes it's pre-recorded, but we just answer all your questions, anything Pokemon, sometimes a little bit of MetaZoo. But yeah, we just we hang out with chat and do a Q&A. So if you have any, feel free to leave them in the chat and we'll get to them. Sometimes we run a little bit of a backlog. You might have to hang out for an hour to hear your question answered, but we do usually get to all of them. So you want to go with Card Canoe's question there?
I can't even see it yet. I'm just seeing Pokemartin's putting packing slips in.
Oh, you must not be live. So with Evo no longer available for new merchants, where would you recommend selling lower value cards? Mainly asking about modern $1 to $10 cards.
Definitely. TCG Player or eBay. For the low end cards, like modern bulk cards, I love TCG Player because of how easy it is to use. You don't have to take pictures. You don't have to write a title. You don't have to write descriptions. All it is you're inputting a quantity and a price point. So they make it really, really easy for you. On the flip side, though, for the for more like the modern chase cards, like your alt art, stuff like that, I find that you can get better pricing on eBay than you can on TCG Player. So it kind of just depends on the specific card. Typically, bulk cards, I like TCG Player for the convenience, and then higher end modern cards, I stick with eBay because of the price point. I find that like having a good reputation, good feedback on eBay, like myself, able to get a little bit more than I am on TCG Player, and maybe that's just because I'm newer on TCG Player, or I think it's because of the fact that there's a lot more competition on TCG Player. And when you type in a card, the first listing that pops up is always going to be the lowest price listing. Whereas on eBay, if you type in a card, it's going to automatically show results in a best match format until you change it. So it could be anyone's listing, no matter the price point. So that's kind of my thoughts on that one right there.
Ray gave us his answer in the chat. He said the real answer is to sell it to Nick. He loves buying/selling low value cards. So the optimal answer is to sell to Nick. Since I'm still on Evo, my obvious answer is to just sell on Evo. I do sell like MetaZoo singles. I sell the hollows only on my eBay. And then all else, all the lower value ones I sell through Troll and Toad Evo. I did do TCG Player for a while. It just didn't fit my business strategy as well. I didn't really like it. Whereas Nick, we traded actually. Nick and I several months back, maybe a year back now, I forget exactly. I sent him equal value TCG Player inventory, and he had his Evo inventory transferred over to me. That was well before people got kicked off. He just, different strokes for different folks, right? Like he prefers TCG Player, I prefer Evo, and then we both do eBay as well. So
yeah, it's a good thing I did that. That worked out well for the both of us there.
You broke up with them before they inevitably were going to break up with you, so you won that one. We're getting actually fairly close to being caught up. Let's see where we're at. Lord Pokesmoke says, all right, if Moonbryon is mooning because of the constant talk about it, what do you think about the investment opportunities for my pile of Greedent V alt arts? It's got to start somewhere, right? So this is the starting point. This is where the rocket gets fueled up, ready for takeoff on Greedent V alt arts. You heard it here first.
There we go. Straight to the moon with those things.
This is actually something I've encountered before too, Java. So Java recently encountered a seller that had an asking price for his cards or his collection equal to a used horse trailer that he wanted to buy. Nothing to do with the value of the cards. I've had that happen where someone has an unexpected bill. Oh, I've got this bill for $1,500. I've got to pay it. Can you give me $1,500 for this collection? And it's like, no, I can offer you what I would normally offer. I'm sorry, because some of that, I mean, you don't even know whether their story's true or not. I can't take someone's story and pay more money based on like I don't know, wanting to help them out or whatever. At the end of the day, I'm a business. My offer is going to be my offer regardless of whatever external circumstances there may or may not be. So if you happen to want a horse trailer, if you happen to want a different Pokemon card, whatever you want, that's irrespective of the value of your cards. So all you can do is make them an offer and then move on if they don't take it. You can try to educate them, but like that can get into, like if I tried educating that guy with the binder, it would not have been well received. If Nick and I pulled out eBay, showed him recent solds, tried to tell him how the ones he thought were gem mint were actually like PSA 7s, PSA 8s, that would not have gone well.
No, definitely not. Yeah, just move on to the next opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity out there for.
Absolutely. Don't get hung up on it for sure. And TCA Raiders that hopped in, I'm showing a bunch of the Raider comments. What was Rusty? I didn't catch what he was opening today. I'm sure I saw it in my subscription feed, but how did Rusty do on his opening?
It was Unbroken Bonds.
Unbroken Bonds. Did we hit the Reshazard then? I think that's the big hit from that, right? The Rainbow Reshazard. Let us know how Rusty did in the comments if you came from his chat. But Ryan wants us to know, what are your plans for Black Friday as buyers/sellers?
My plan is every year I do a big eBay store sale for that whole weekend. So I start it Friday, run it through Monday. So I'll do that. I usually do like 10 to 20% off of everything listed on eBay. So I'll do that, and then I also want to do some website sales. So I'm gonna have some really cheap stuff that I want to get rid of listed on the website to hopefully get more traffic over there. So I'm gonna be doing that. So those will probably be like Instagram stories. Maybe like once a day, do a different product for that whole weekend, and then I'll do a sale on my website as well. But that's the biggest thing as far as plans right now. I'm trying to get as much listed as possible, so that way I have a decent amount listed. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, is focusing on listing a whole bunch of stuff, so that way I can hopefully sell a whole bunch of stuff throughout the holiday shopping season.
Yeah, similarly, when Black Friday happens, Cyber Monday, when all that stuff happens, I always run some kind of a sale for sure. 10-20% off, something like that. Maybe I'll do something. I do have a fair bit of fresh inventory coming in. Right before I get big PSA returns, I like to run the discounts then, because especially the past 2 years, generally a falling market. When the market's going up, items just sell. So it's not an issue to like refresh your inventory. But in a slightly down falling market of the past year or two, I mean more than slightly, in a vast down falling market overall, sometimes my prices get outdated. So relatively regular 10 or 20% sale can clean out some of those. But I just listed in the past couple of days like 100 new slabs. I have a couple new submissions coming back next week. I need to be careful that I don't low list eBay to market like all these new slabs and then discount them 25% for Black Friday. I don't want to sell that low under market. I don't want to be like, but on my old stuff I can. So probably my older stuff that's been around a while, maybe 25-30% off. Some of the newer slabs that just came in, maybe 5-10% off here and there. Everything will get discounted to some extent to try to just move stuff. Hopefully those Ludkin subs that we talked about some time ago, hopefully those come back, and I'll have 1,200 new slabs coming potentially later this year as well, on top of all the $18, the $15 that I've sent out. But yeah, on the buy side, I'm not really going to look to buy too much. I'm going to do my normal wholesale buys through my distributors. I'm going to do collection buys if they pop up. But like, I don't buy, Nick and I generally buy wholesale modern. We don't buy like the 25%, 35% off deals that Walmart or Target, those people may do. Though there are times where I've seen the discounts being so significant, buy one, get one, that they actually do end up cheaper than my wholesale price. But I still, like, any product, me personally, my take is like any product I see out there, I let the consumer have. It's designed for the consumer, even if it's slightly below my wholesale cost. I try to like just leave those. One exception, very recently, I did buy 10 UPC Zards from Walmart at retail because I didn't like. I saw some people saying it was working, some people saying it wasn't. So I'm like, let me just try this and see if they come in, and they actually did. So it doesn't seem like too big of an issue because they printed so many of those apparently that they're still available. If anyone is wanting one at retail and they haven't gotten it yet, I would question like they're not trying hard enough because it's been everywhere.
Yeah, it literally has been everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you do you don't do any like regular shopping on Black Friday, do you? That's one thing I do like. Me and my sister go out every year.
I have a couple times, like if I had a big need, I would probably be looking into it. Like right now, I don't need a TV. I don't need any gadgets. We do kind of need at some point. I actually talked about it in a live stream last week, I think. I thought my dryer had broken, but what happened is I think something got caught in my washer. The washer tripped the breaker, which I have a gas dryer, so it's on the same breaker as my washer. My wife said the clothes were wet coming out of the washer. It was actually the out of the dryer. So I thought the dryer was broken. Thankfully, the dryer wasn't broken. It was just something was caught in the washer. So I was thinking a week or two ago that I was going to need a new dryer, but I was going to be looking there for that. Completely non-Pokemon. People are wondering, why is he talking about washers and dryers? But I did it in a live stream last week, and thankfully, washer and dryer are fine. I might need to look into a new dishwasher. Dishwasher's pretty old. I fixed it once when it was leaking, but it's good to go for now. It's been good for about a year since I fixed it. So I'm probably not going to buy anything as a regular consumer on Black Friday. Let's see what our next question is. Trying to get all these TCA raid comments up. Dosey Do asking TCA Gaming when he's coming on the podcast. We do have to have, we have the overlap, so we'll have to steal Rusty at some point down the line. We'll have to see if we can have him as a guest, because I'm sure he would be a great one that everyone would love to have. What were you going to say?
Lord Pokesmoke just commented, yes, more dryer repair content, please.
Yeah. Pokey Martin asks, Dan, where do you source all your singles for Troll and Toad if not from collection buys? A lot of them were sourced from collection buys years ago that I just hoarded. I never had the ability to sell them individually, so I just hoarded monster boxes and monster boxes over the years. Some are current collection buys today. I've had more and more people ask me, like, hey, I see you have Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I see you have Magic cards, wondering where they came from, because I really don't buy Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh collections. I've not really talked about this anywhere, except for I think I talked to Nick about it when he came in person. I don't know if you remember. Troll and Toad has this little feature where they allow sellers to buy some product directly from them, almost some kind of like an internal auction service that they have. I've bought some of those. I mean, quite a lot of those, actually. So I've been sourcing a lot of my Troll and Toad inventory internal to Troll and Toad, almost buying some of Troll and Toad's inventory off of them. Whether those are buy list collections, whether they're other Evo Merchants items, I don't entirely know. But yeah, I have sourced quite a bit for Troll and Toad from Troll and Toad. Here's one if you want to take this one first. L-Dubs, have you guys made any successful plays deconstructing products for loose packs? I've seen Nick selling many Detective Pikachu loose packs, but wasn't sure if Dan sold any.
That's pretty much all I do for the collection boxes that come out. I'll break them down, sell the jumbo, sell the pin, sell the promo, and then the packs I'll put into either like 4-pack lots of one of each artwork or 36 pack lots of like a loose booster box almost, and sell them that way. For me, I think that's definitely the way to do it, because shipping a collection box is expensive. You need to get different sized boxes, which I've never looked into getting those. So, but I feel like breaking them down is definitely the play compared to what they're listed for on eBay or TCG Player. So that's all I do for every collection box that comes out, is break it down and sell the individual parts. The Detective Pikachu loose packs, that was one of the greatest buys that I've done in a long time. It's a very minimal profit per pack, but I'm selling a ton of those packs, and I have a ton of them left. So that was a cool buy right there. But yeah, that's kind of what I do with the collection boxes, stuff like that. And I do that, like I said, do that for every single one of them.
Yeah, likewise. I've done that going all the way back to 2014. I forget the exact year, the exact month, but there was a period where Roaring Skies was selling for $300 a box. I was buying as much as I could of all the collection boxes and tins that contained Roaring Skies, and I was selling loose pack lots. And then I had just like hordes of promos and pins and coins and jumbos, and those I've been slow selling them through Evo primarily. But yeah, I've always broken down. I do the bulk of that through Troll and Toad Evo, though. I don't do a lot of that myself, like in-house. And L-Dubs goes on to ask, are the loose packs hard to sell? If you have a good brand, a good name, a good image, and people can trust that your loose packs are going to be unweighed, untampered, I think it makes it easier. So I don't want to just say it's easy to sell them. I'm able to move them quite easily. I think Nick is able to move them quite easily. I don't know how easy or hard it would be for a low feedback, no real brand, like, and I'm not saying this to you specifically, but for anyone in general, I would just caution, like, don't build up a huge position of loose packs only to find that no one buys them from you because you don't have like enough eBay history or whatever. And Pokey Martin asks, who's the biggest PokeTuber you guys would want as a feature? We just touched on it. It would be great to have Rusty. There's a ton of people, though. We only do one guest a month. There's such a long list of people that we'd love to have and people that we will continue to have. I hate picking, like, who would you want most? Who's your favorite? I don't like any of that kind of stuff, but like Rusty is one on a long list of people. Bigger guys, like, it would be really cool to get, I mean, the biggest guy as far as views go, PokeRev. So going to the literal top, it would be awesome to have PokeRev on here. I think a lot of the stuff we talk about, it wouldn't be as applicable as far as like he's not selling singles on eBay in the same way, but he did a ton of that. Back when I was cracking these boxes behind me, he was doing the same thing 10 times as big. If we ever had Rev on, I would love to do it as a live instead of a pre-recorded one, so that chat could ask him questions. But I would also like to ask him more about specifically when we were both buying jungle and fossil boxes and cracking them and grading them. I would love to talk to Rev about like his history doing that. So the biggest YouTuber we would want to have on is literally the biggest YouTuber.
Sky's the limit right there.
Kyle says
he's come on PK's channel. He could come on our channel at one point.
That's the thing, like we've actually never asked Rusty to come on. We've never asked PokeRev to come on. At some point down the line, like I would like to ask, because not just ask Rusty and Nick because they have big channels and think of the growth, it's not about that. Like I love Rusty. I've known Rusty, done business with Rusty for a long time. We went to his house in Denver. I just love hearing his take, hearing his answers on all these questions that we get would be really, really cool. Rev, I've not known as closely. I've not done as much business with, but going back to the E4 days, I still talk to Rev infrequently, but occasionally here and there in Instagram DMs. And I would like I said, I would love selfishly to just hear more about the business that he did. The same thing I did, just bigger. I would love to hear all that and be able to ask him firsthand live on YouTube. And obviously, selfishly, to some extent, like he does have a massive channel and it would be cool getting that aspect of it too. I'm not saying that that's none of it, but that's not all of it by any means either. He's just a very interesting person. And I would love to hear both the old stuff that he did way before YouTube. I would also just love to hear the business side of like primarily being a YouTube streamer, because Nick and I are, YouTube is secondary. Even Rusty, YouTube is secondary. To hear someone whose primary driver these days is YouTube, completely different business, it would just be really cool to hear.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing that stuff. The YouTube side of things.
Yeah. Kyle mentions my stock image of Jungle Pincer is a scratch error card. I'm assuming that's on Troll and Toad Evo. That's not necessarily, that's not an image of the card that I sent to them. The way Troll and Toad Evo works, they actually batch all the cards together. More and more frequently, since I have a bigger Evo inventory, I get people messaging me on Instagram like, hey, I see you're selling XYZ card on Troll and Toad. Can you send me pictures? That's not the way Troll and Toad works. They actually warehouse the item. They condition the item. They don't really do pictures. They classify per their condition guidelines. They classify all the items. And it's the one that, like, say that I send in this Brock's Ninetales. If I send in this Brock's Ninetales, they might have 20 of them. It goes into the pool of 20. So even if I had pictures or a video of this Brock's Ninetales, when you order it, it's very likely you're not going to get the same exact one. So more and more frequently, I'm getting that question. So I just wanted to elaborate on that there. The average person who asks me, though, aren't going to be watching this podcast to this point, though. So
they're not 2.5 hours into the podcast.
Yeah. Danazard TCG, how do you determine your offer on collections, a certain dollar below comps, or do you have a general price per card in mind? You want to take that one first?
He says it's your PSA 8 on eBay, not Troll and Toad.
Oh.
Someone go buy that real quick before Dan notices. How do you determine your offer? A certain dollar amount below comps, or do you have a general price per card in mind? It depends on what it is. For the most part, like I said, I deal a lot with WotC stuff. So WotC stuff I know pretty well. So those cards I kind of have like a general idea. Like for the most part, your unlimited base hollows outside of the big three are going to be right around $8 a piece in near mint condition, and then I'll in turn sell them for right around like $15 to $17 a piece. So like those types of cards I know like the back of my hand, so I can go through and say, if the seller says I have all these cards in near mint condition, I can just kind of tally up, these ones are $8, these ones are $10, $12, $15, $20, whatever, and then add everything together at the end. It's not going to be an exact science, but it works out pretty well. If it's something that I don't normally deal with, like we were talking when I was on with you and Jake in one of the live streams we did, I was talking about some team up boxes that I had bought, and because I don't have any team up boxes right now, I was absolutely blown away by the fact that they were worth $1,000 a piece. So when someone came to me with those boxes, I had to look them up on eBay. I take a quick look at what the lowest list price is for a buy it now copy on eBay, and then I mainly focus on what the most recent sales are and kind of look at the average of those sales, grab like the 3-4 most recent sales, and base my offer around that. How about you over there?
It's never like a flat percent. I think a lot of people just want like, oh, I pay 60%, 70%, whatever the number is, they want like a flat percent. It's almost never going to be that. When I was buying out people's Troll and Toad Evo inventories, though, I actually was paying 40% on sub $10 cards because the fee is like substantially higher. And I was paying 60% on items over $10. And I was actually paying flat percent on Evo inventories. But still, like I would say Evo low list, that sometimes was an issue because there were like wilderness booster boxes. A lot of people don't carry Metazoo on Troll and Toad. Some people had like low list on Metazoo Wilderness booster boxes that sell on eBay, that sell on TCG for like $60. Low list was 80. So I had to say, I'll pay 60% of low list, but I'm also going to check to make sure that there's no like outlier situations where I'm paying way over market on something. So it was like, because that's the thing, like market price, air quotes, it's not a fixed thing for any given card. If every card had one singular market price with infinite liquidity, like a stock, not infinite, but high liquidity like a stock does, sure, I could pay 80% on everything, and I could know that I could sell it for 99 to 100% with maximum liquidity immediately. That's just not a thing in Pokemon. So for things that I believe in more, for things that I have less of, I'll pay a higher percentage, closer to 70%, 75% maybe. For things that I have a ton of and I don't really need or want more, and things especially that I don't believe in, things that I think the price is going to go down on, I might pay closer to 50%, 40%. It's all, and it's a cash flow thing too. If you've got a $50,000 collection of things that I have 20 of each, and I just bought another $50,000 collection, and I barely have the money to do it, I might offer you, I won't offer you 20% on a collection. I'll just say like, go to someone else at this time. Like I have too much of that. I don't have enough money to justify buying this much excess of that inventory. Go to Nick. Go to Rusty. Go somewhere else. Consign it. I'll sell it to you through consignment. But so it's very much a feel thing. And I know that's not like an actionable answer. People want a more actionable thing. Pay this percent. It just doesn't work like that. Phantom X Mod says, I want to collect all the base set hollows again. Raw cards seem rough. Thoughts on PSA 8s to have near mint? Do you think price will go down on 8s? I think Nick and I have both talked about this multiple times throughout the year and a half now of PokeFlipz. PSA 8 Unlimited, especially base set, they printed so much of it. The pop, like, those are always going to be available. I personally don't like PSA 8 graded set cards. Some of the more rare ones, some of the harder to get ones, maybe like Gold Stars, maybe base set first edition. PSA 8s is more reasonable, but to me personally, PSA 9s and 10s is more where it's at. Even PSA 9s of base set Unlimited, there's just so much of that product that I don't like the long-term investment prospects of that type of card personally. You can buy near mint, like PSA 6, PSA 7 condition cards that look beautiful in a binder. Like I have my childhood binder of base set Unlimited. I'm never going to hold base set Unlimited PSA graded cards because I have my nostalgia. I have my binder of lower condition cards, and that's all I need. Holding those, like I should have sold those in 2020 from a monetary perspective. I should have sold those in 2020 and I knew it, but I'm holding on to those for nostalgic reasons, not investment, not anything like that. Base Unlimited PSA 8, in my opinion, is tough.
Yeah, I think you covered that one pretty good. There's a ton of base Unlimited out there. People are still opening unlimited base boxes every single week. So there's a ton of that stuff out there, and PSA 8s are pretty easy to get even today. So I do think pricing could continue to go down on 8s for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ray asks you specifically, are you familiar with the e-reader starter deck? I have read/heard that they can contain hollows but cannot verify it. Do you know if they do? Quickly, I'll say that I have no idea.
Yeah, I commented. I said I knew what he was talking about with reader starter decks. That was a good start there. But I've never opened one.
Oh.
Never watched a video of one opening, so I could not tell you about the hollows.
I see your comment now. I didn't notice it. Josh, the Green Shiz, asks us, what is your least favorite Metazoo and least favorite Sword and Shield set? No special sets. So my least favorite Metazoo set, it's probably gonna be like Blasphemous. People are not gonna like my answer, but I think a lot of people's answer would be Wilderness, but Bigfoot was like the main guy in that one, so I can't answer that. I mean, Bigfoot's in it. I'm gonna say Nightfall. It can't be Cryptid Nation because that's the base first set. That's the true first edition one. I liked UFO a lot. I opened a ton of it. I enjoyed Seance quite a bit. So I'm going to go with Nightfall. I had the least like interaction with Nightfall out of all the sets. I've opened more of every other set than Nightfall. So I just don't have much of a relationship with it. That's why my answer is that. A lot of people though, I think that's one of their favorite sets. But Sword and Shield set, I haven't opened much of any of them. Maybe Sword and Shield base.
I would go with. I would probably have to go with Rebel Clash as my least favorite Sword and Shield Pokemon set. To me, that one was very unmemorable. And then for MetaZoo, I just is there a good MetaZoo set?
I was waiting for that.
I just haven't opened.
I was waiting for you to say they're all tied.
No, I just haven't opened any MetaZoo. I've probably opened 4 or 5 packs of MetaZoo in my entire, like, out of all the sets, so I just could not tell you on that one.
We actually had a similar question, just Pokemon. PokeFlipz art, what's your most underrated Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon set? Again, I've opened so little, it's hard to say. When you say underrated, like I think a favorite of a lot of people was like Cosmic Eclipse, but given how expensive the box is, it's hard to say like underrated. Underrated inherently just brings in like the money aspect. I would need to look at like prices of all of them. I don't even know enough about each individual set's identity to answer this properly.
I'm gonna say for Sun and Moon, I'm not sure because, like, you really didn't spend too much time with Sun and Moon. Sword and Shield, though, I have spent a good bit of time with, and I'm actually going to say right now, I think Chilling Reign has the best potential. Chilling Reign was actually a lot of fun to open. I thought Chilling Reign had a lot of good cards in it. I'm going to go with that one for Sword and Shield.
Feels reasonable to me. The boxes are pretty cheap relative to other things. I haven't opened enough to say, but I like it. Good answers. Pokey Martin says he did see someone get a Pichu Expedition Hollow from those things that Ray was talking about.
Okay.
Dosey Doe asked, do you think the Pop Series packs are underpriced? They still seem pretty cheap, IMO. I'm not up to speed with what they go for. I know Pop 5 packs, last I was aware, they're like $500 a pack or something. That doesn't seem...
The others are like $50 a pack. Like 1 through 4 are like $50, and then 6 through 9 are 30 to 40, somewhere around there.
That doesn't scream underpriced to me by any means. Those packs are a super gamble. You can hit it big with the Pop 5 and you can hit Espeon or Umbreon. The other ones you can hit like the EXs and stuff like that. But yeah, it doesn't scream underpriced to me because most times you open them and you get 2 cards that are not worth nearly what you paid.
Yeah. I would say Pop Series 2, extremely undervalued. You could buy them at oldschoolpokemon.com.
There we go. I like it. I agree.
No, honestly, to me, they seem very expensive. I can't believe you're paying $50 for 2 cards. To me, that's I would much rather have something else than those packs. But just because, at least back in the day, there were a ton of those packs out there. Rusty had just like mountains of Pop Series packs. So at one point there were a ton out there. Now they're very expensive, and I wouldn't pay that much for them.
Yeah, the distribution's weird because they didn't come out in like booster boxes, obviously. They were handed out at leagues a lot, and some former employees had like hordes of them, like thousands and thousands. I remember years ago hearing about different people when I was buying Pop 5 packs for like 20, $30 a piece years ago, there were hordes found and people buying out like 2,000 Pop 5 packs. And I remember hearing some crazy hordes that were found years ago. So I have one of each for like a pack art collection that I used to have. I think I still have one of each, even though I don't have my whole pack art collection anymore. But other than that, there's not much for me to do with them as a business. If and when they come to me, I'm going to make a % offer and just flip them. So yeah, I'm not too in tune with them. Josh has a good question here. If I gave you each $100 and you had to turn it into $200 in 3 months, what is the exact play you make? That's a good one. I feel like
of an evolving size booster box, hoping for the Umbreon.
There you go. So Nick's just gonna YOLO gamble it. Yeah, I would just take $100. I would go to my casino and I would put it all on black. I mean, put it all on a hand of blackjack. I've got like a 49% chance that I double it. It either doubles or it goes to zero. 49% success rate. No, realistically, I'd probably buy a special delivery Charizard, even though like the main hype is past. I would buy one for 50 or $60 sealed, and you might have to lose on a couple. You might have to buy at 50 sealed in an auction, and then like sell it for break even for 60. You might have to like get through a few, but once you find that PSA 10 example, if you're lucky enough to, I don't know what they're selling for in PSA 9. But yeah, I'd buy and grade a special delivery Charizard or a similar card. Maybe there's a better opportunity out there. $100, I don't know, but there's probably a raw card, raw alt art that goes for 50 to 80 range. I would try to find like, don't buy a stock photo one. Buy one that you actually see actual front and back, maybe in a Facebook group. Maybe even pay up. Market rate, I think it's 50 or $60 for a special delivery Charizard. Pay up, spend like 70, but buy one that you're quite confident is a PSA 10. Buy it, grade it, flip it. I think you could make $100 in 3 months doing that.
Yeah, your only kind of limiting factor would be the time for grading. But yeah, I would say that would be the best way to go about it. I would follow what you said. I would look for alt arts. I know someone doing that, and he probably spends a lot of time on eBay looking for these cards in raw form. But he's able to get a decent bit of PSA 10 candidates, and there's definitely money to be made if you have the time to put into that scenario and actually look at the card. Be one of those people who ask for more pictures. We all know Dan loves those people.
Swami's got a good one I'm gonna highlight quick. He would buy a few space heaters and sell at the end of December once stores are sold out, possibly the weekend after Christmas, but I'll just check shelves to sell into Christmas. So Swami's gonna
There we go.
Swami's gonna capitalize on poor freezing families. He's gonna merch them. He was probably buying toilet paper in 2022.
Yeah.
Oh god. It is a play though. It is a play.
That is true. That is true.
Here's a good question though by Dark Lava Lizard. Do you guys collect anything nostalgic from your childhood other than Pokemon, such as action figures, Legos, Micro Machines, old 80s and 90s vintage toys? Not necessarily collect, but I do still have all my Pogs from when I was younger. I have all my Tech Decks. I have all my Crazy Bones, all the different fads. Like it's no surprise that I have all my Pokemon cards from when I was younger too. Bit of a hoarder. I kept everything, not everything, but all the cool stuff. So my son is actually getting to the age where I'm gonna hand down. My dad handed down his Legos to me. So like vintage 1970s era Lego sets that he handed down to me when I got to the right age. My son's getting close to where I'm going to hand all mine down to him. If and when he gets into Legos, I'm probably going to do some amount of business in Lego just so that I can collect / flip more effectively and fuel my son's potential Lego addiction and do all that more tax efficiently, I guess I'll say. But I'm a little worried that he might get into Legos because I could see myself diving way back into that. I was so into Legos when I was a kid.
It is very addicting. I had an absolute blast with the Titanic model that I built. That was a lot of fun. Um, that was a very unproductive week when I got that in too. But as far as collecting anything from my childhood, not really. I can't really recall anything that I even have. I have a few like stuffed animals. I got a giant tiger, which absolutely love tiger, but that's really about it that I have from my childhood. Everything else is thrown away. So yeah, that's about it for me. I don't think I would get into collecting anything either. Nothing really pops out for me that I would want to start buying again and collecting.
Shadowless Jack shared an unfortunate slab optimization. He cracked a CGC 8.5 Zard and got a PSA 6. You do need to watch out for CGC 8.5s. They can have a dent that will auto 6 you, so watch out for that. PokeDac is in need of a modern JP bulk supplier. Bulk is in multiple cases of booster boxes. I don't have any big source that I can give up for Japanese bulk booster boxes, but it looks like Retrospecs told him to hit him up. He might have a supplier. Garrett Palka asks, what % do you guys charge when consigning cards? Mine is 20%, minimum $20 fee up to $2,500, and then every dollar after $2,500 is 5%. What's your fee structure, Nick?
I do so it's basically the eBay fees that I'm paying, which are roughly like 12.5%. So eBay fees plus, if it sells for under $1,000, it's eBay fees plus 10%. $1,000 to $5,000 eBay fees plus 5%. 5,000 or more eBay fees plus 2.5%. So it's a little bit more than Dan and Z&G on the low end in terms of like the percentage. I don't charge that flat rate fee like they do. So it's usually everyone is right around that 20-25%.
We're all in the same vicinity.
That's kind of a common percentage.
Your average player asked if we'd host Dubsy if we could on the podcast. Absolutely. He'd be an interesting individual. Not really in line with like the whole flipping aspect of our podcast, so not the absolute best fit, but we could go, there's so many things we could go into. I mean, we even someone who only collects, we could still have as a guest on this podcast and have a lot of like interesting conversation, I think. Getting the different aspects of it, the different sides of it. Maybe someday we'll be cool enough to have Ray on. He felt slighted that he wasn't mentioned, I think, when I was talking about Rusty and PokeRev.
I don't know if I'd want Ray, to be honest.
Kai wants to know, I answered this in my live stream yesterday. Crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Oh, you answered. Oh, that's the wrong answer. I mean, that's just objectively wrong. Crunchy is the way to go. So there's another thing we disagree on. We don't disagree on it. I'm just right and you're wrong.
Not at all. No.
Garen M says, thoughts on the giant lenticular cards they use as promos. The Silver Tempest one of Lugia looks sharp. I'm not sure I know. Like promos that they put in LGSs.
Did I see something before you for once?
Like promos they send out to LGSs. Maybe I did see that.
Oh, damn it.
They're cool. I'm not buying them or anything, but they're cool.
Yeah, I pretty much have the same thoughts. I think they're really cool. I would love to be able to get them from my distributor. I ask my rep for every single set, for one or for some type of store promotional material, and usually every single time it's a no. So haven't gotten one yet, but I would love to eventually. That would be one of the biggest perks for having a store, is just to get those giant lenticular cards.
Yeah. Hit up
I would
Mason.
open up a store just to get those.
Yeah. Pay thousands a month in overhead just to get lenticulars you could probably buy from Mason. uh
Uh,
you want to take retros?
why do you think people collect other than just nostalgia? Gonna sound like Mr. Krabs here, but money. That's part of the reason for me, at least. Obviously, a huge part of it is nostalgia. Just stuff that I really enjoy looking at from my childhood. But another aspect is definitely the money aspect, and I think there's very, very few people who would say who could say that they would still be as big into Pokemon if it weren't for that money aspect.
And not even necessarily the cards going up, but at least holding some amount of value. It makes it so much easier to justify buying a ton of stuff, knowing that it's not going to literally be worth zero. Why do people collect? I've heard from a lot of people. I think there's like a collector gene of sorts. I think you're either a collector, you're either born a collector or you're not. I think most people in this hobby, most people in this live right now, 90 people watching, I think most people were born with that gene. It's just something inherent to us. We collect. I don't know why exactly. For me, a primary driver is nostalgia. But even before that, even before nostalgia brought me back into Pokemon, I wasn't nostalgic for wheat pennies. I wasn't nostalgic for Mercury dimes, walking half dollars. Those were just intriguing to me, the historical aspects and getting passed down some from my grandfather and things like that. So it's not just nostalgia. It's just like the cool factor just stimulates something in our brains for people who have that gene. I don't really know how to describe it, but yeah, that's my general thoughts on that.
Now with the coins, do you like remember your grandfather? Like were you helping him collect coins, or was it just something that he passed down to you and you really didn't know anything about him when he went down to you?
Well, I almost said the context as I said it, because right when it rolled off my tongue, I'm like, that sounds kind of weird. That grandfather is actually still alive today. He had them from he didn't really collect them. He just had them in like an old box of things, and he knew that I was getting into coins, so he just gave them to me. Like, he didn't pass away and like leave them to me. He just gave them to me. He knew, I think he heard through my parents that I was searching for silver coins through change, and he had an old box that he just found him and gave them to me. So, like, it didn't come from my grandparents. It didn't come from my dad. I honestly forget the genesis of my whole coin thing, because my parents were not coin collectors, nor were my grandparents. My grandpa, I mean, he was born in, yeah, it's weird. Like, I don't really know how or why. The whole Stein thing too. Like, my parents, my grandparents, no aunts and uncles really. Like, no one really collected brewery collectibles. I just got into them somehow. I don't know how.
Oh.
I just have
you're
that
a true
gene.
collector over there.
Yeah, look behind me. I was buying and opening these boxes at a loss. I'm like people see me as a big dirty flipper scalper evil person. I used to be like I'm a collector boy at heart. Still, for sure. It's it's weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I've just always been a collector of different things, and it is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, the coins for me started. I was forced into those because of my dad helping him out, wanting to help him out with because he had a coin shop, so I would be there every single weekend helping him out, and just kind of picked it up over time.
Dosey Doe asked, do you guys think MetaZoo is going to have to start doing full arts or something? Having only hollows seems kind of boring and they all look similar. I think I kind of like that about MetaZoo, because it brings me back to the simpler times when I could understand what the hell was going on in the set. like it's similar feel to like WotC, right? The border, the art box, the text below. I'm not a huge fan of these alt art, rainbow rare, full art, regular V, like having 4 or 5 variants of functionally the same card. I actually like that part about MetaZoo, but on a long enough timeline, if MetaZoo's around 10 years from now, will they have to branch out and do bigger things? Yeah, they probably will. I mean, look at Magic. Magic started doing the foils. Magic is doing the full arts. Magic's doing the alternate arts. Magic's doing the serialized stuff. On a long enough timeline, bigger, flashier, fancier inevitably happens, I think, to just spice things up. So long enough timeline, MetaZoo probably will, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'll go with you. I don't have any experience with MetaZoo. I don't know. I could take it or leave it, honestly.
And I can say that like I almost said that I'd be fine with them never changing it, but honestly, like I got out of Pokemon 2 or 3 years into it originally when the hype died, when everyone else did. Had they gone, like they did the Shinings, they did the Crystals, they did different things, that wasn't enough to keep me engaged. That wasn't enough to keep most people engaged. I can sit here and say if MetaZoo 20 years from now was still doing the same WotC style palette that they're doing currently, I can just say that. It's a complete guess, but like I could say that I would be fine with that, but maybe I wouldn't be. As of today, I am. But maybe 5 years from now, if MetaZoo is still doing it, I'll be like, come on, man. We need some full arts. We need some. I honestly don't know. I've never gone through 5 years of only that type. I did it for 2 or 3 years. Soon we're going to be crossing my time frame of what I did with Pokemon originally with my time frame of what I've done for MetaZoo in the next year or so. And obviously then I was a kid. Now I'm an adult. Now I'm a business. Everything's different, but it's hard to say. I hate when it jumps me to the bottom. CGC giving out 10s for vintage finally. Thoughts? I don't know. These grading companies, they drive me nuts. They make me money, but they drive me nuts. That's my thoughts, honestly.
I love it. I think so many people complain about the CGC changing their grading scale and how that ruined them as a company. I think the complete opposite. I think when CGC changed their grading scale, that saved them as a company. Before that change, it was just a nonstop flood of 8.5s, which nobody likes 8.5s. So I know I stopped grading with them. I know you stopped grading with them for a while, and I'm sure a lot more people would stop grading with them if they kept that same grading scale. But now that they loosened up a little bit and started giving out 9s, 9.5s, 10s, they're so much better off for that.
Yeah,
we hit a pretty big milestone in subcounts. 969.
I see that. 969. 31 to go, but maybe we'll hang out at the meme number for a while. Let's see what happens. Mr. Walrus asks, is it better to flip into the market or save your cards as future inventory, only selling occasionally to fund bigger purchases? It all the flipping, the fundamental flipping versus investing question. If you have things that you can actively be buying to make a 50% margin, to double your money, things like that, and if you're holding things that are actively preventing you from have the cash flow to making those plays, investing never makes sense if you're in that position. If you're investing in 10K of product that you're waiting on to double over the next 6 months or 2 years, a lot of times there are plays where you can actively do that if you have the time. It comes down to 2 things, money and time. Which one do you have more of? If you have more time, you should be actively flipping. If you have less time and more money, you should be like investing more, generally speaking, is what I think.
Yeah, I pretty much agree there. I also think it's like what you enjoy more. Like, do you enjoy the business aspect, selling cards, working on eBay, all that stuff? For me, I thoroughly enjoy that aspect. I could honestly say if it weren't for the business aspect, I probably wouldn't be as deep into Pokemon as I am. So that's kind of where I find the most enjoyment. So I think that's another big part of it is where do you find the most enjoyment? If it's holding cards, then do that. If it's selling cards, then try and do that.
Mr. Walrus says, "What the hell is a walking $half? You mean 50 cents?" One thing that I realized fairly recently, some of my coin knowledge is escaping me, and it kind of makes me sad. Because like I used to be able to tell you the key dates and mintages for every coin set, most US type coin sets, all the different years, like the standout ones: 1916D Mercury Dime, 1909 VDB Wheat Cent. But I used to be able to do it. I think the 32D for Washington quarters, 32D or S maybe. But I can't even tell you.
D and S are right up there.
Yeah, I can't even tell you the exact years that the walking $half were minted. I want to say, were they the same as the Mercury Dime, 1916 to 1963, and then the Kennedy $half took over?
They stopped before the Mercury Dime because you had the Franklin $half.
Oh, you went to the Franklins picked up in
between.
1950, I think. I think the Franklins picked up around 1950.
Yeah.
But yeah, the anyone who's unaware of coins, one of the most beautiful, the Silver Eagle, the American Silver Eagle, the 1 ounce coins, borrows that art. It still uses that art today on the 1 troy ounce bullion silver rounds that they make today. But the walking $half, the Mercury Dime, some of my favorite all time coin arts, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I love Silver Eagles for sure.
The Pull Father's opening those Fossil and Rocket heavies he bought from us. Good luck on those pulls.
Hopefully you do good. We want to see multiple Dark Charizards.
Yeah, Swami says chest bump to the man Dan with the crazy bones still in the collection. That's how I know he's a collector. Not sure what turned him into the morally bankrupt flipper he is today. One of these days, I'm going to have to do a live stream where I just like this video that goes live Monday. I think it talks some about my origins. I wish I had a YouTube. People would probably like me more than they do today if I had a YouTube from 2014, because they would see that I was pure and true, just a collector boy at heart when I started. And now, like, everything I've seen, everything I've done, it's turned me to the dark side. I've seen behind the veil. I've seen what goes on with grading, with making money, and now I'm tainted forever. So yeah, I need to do a live stream. I need to show like, hey, here's my crazy bones. The aliens were my favorite. This was my favorite one that I used to play with. I was like a sniper with this one. Could never miss playing the game. It's funny, as I'm saying all that, James, Z&G Emporium says, imagine having coin knowledge, nerds. As I'm nerding out about crazy bones, even worse.
Biggest nerd of them all over there.
Yeah. I will say we are like we were 45 minutes behind when we started. We're fully caught up with chat. A couple questions just got dropped. We're gonna do another 30 minutes. The quitting whistle blows at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, so we're gonna quit at 4:30. But you have us for another half an hour. Feel free to leave your questions in chat. We're completely caught up aside from a couple. Pokey Martin asks, Silver Tempest allocation, any expectations or thoughts?
I got 30 boxes from one distributor, which was above what. So I got 30 boxes from one distributor. I normally got like 24 boxes, so a little bit higher from that distributor. And then from my other distributor, I actually went from 36 boxes of Lost Origin to 54 boxes of Silver Tempest. So a huge increase there, which I was really happy about that. The one downside to working with two distributors is I've been ordering like an equal amount of product from both distributors, and now I need to figure out to cut that down a little bit. So I'm not getting an absolute massive amount of stuff that I don't want. But I think it's a decent set. Obviously having the alt art Lugia, first few tens of that are going to sell for crazy money. So I think that's always play with Modern. Get it in, sell it as quickly as possible. But as a on like a personal level, I'm really not a big fan of the alt art. I'm not a big fan of that Lugia alt art. I don't think it looks that good. Overall, really not super excited for Silver Tempest, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think it seems like there's a lot more supply of it than even Lost Origin, just because people are already doing pre-orders for sub $100. I've seen them. I know whatever website oh god, I'm not even gonna remember his name. But anyway, I've seen pre-orders for like between $90 and like $95.
Like P Football Pete or something?
No, Rattle, whichever website he advertised, Pika something.
Oh.
They were doing $89.99 and they sold like 300 boxes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was allocated problem when I stream, so getting into the behind the scenes, like why I can't look up my exact numbers right now. I have 2 user accounts on my desktop so that I can have 2 different OBSs. I have one user for the Catch 'em All Collectibles YouTube and OBS, and then I have another for the PokeFlipz. I'm not logged into my distributor on this computer, so I can't like actively look it up. But I think because you can only tie one YouTube account at a time to an OBS. But I think I'm getting 100 from one distributor, 100 Lost Origin or Silver Tempest, sorry. And I think I got 60 Lost Origin, so it's quite a big increase. Up to 15, 16 cases from 10. My other distributor is like I'm running on fumes there. I don't get a whole lot. I think I'm getting like 3 cases from them. Although I did just get a big Lost Origin restock that I didn't even think I asked for or confirmed or anything. I just had like 36 Lost Origin booster boxes come in from my secondary small distributor. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't really want it. But yeah, the set, I haven't looked too in depth on it. I did see the Lugia alt art spoiler or whatever. Looks fine. I don't think it's going to be the next Moonbryon. My opinion on the Moonbryon art, I don't think that should be the current Moonbryon. Like, it's cool, but it's like crazy how crazy people are for that. It's cool, but it's not like substantially cooler than the other ones, I don't think. So, yeah, I'm going to sell them all through Troll and Toad for a lot less margin than I'm selling my Evolving Skies for, or a lot less margin than I sold my Brilliant Stars for, but we'll see where we go. Dosey Doe asks, have you guys bought any MTG alpha cards? A lot of the CGC commons go for around $50. I did grab a few CGC graded ones from PWCC. I never played Magic, but some of my cousins did growing up, and there's some arts that like they're not even important. I just remember their collection. I don't even know if they played or if they just collected, but I remember some of the arts. They probably didn't have alpha or beta cards, but they probably had like the white bordered. I definitely remember white bordered cards. They had some of the 4th edition, 5th edition, unlimited, whatever. They had the later white bordered reprints, and so I picked up some arts that like feel nostalgic to me. Like, yeah, I think I remember seeing that when I was like 7 or something. But I'm not making it a big point to do a ton of it.
I never got into Magic. Not into it now, so I haven't done anything with that.
I was talking about doing a collector boy live stream where I show all my crazy bones and my pogs and my tech decks and things like that. And Retro wants to do a flippers only live stream. Swami does have Swami has quite the live stream queued up. Best thumbnail ever to be seen on YouTube. Go check out Swami's channel. Is that tomorrow night or is that Saturday night? It throws me off because
Friday night.
It is because it's at 12:30 a.m. That's what threw me off. I think the date it's technically like Saturday morning Eastern time. I think he's doing it at 10:30 p.m. Mountain time. So it's like it's Friday night at 12:30, which technically per the calendar is Saturday. That's what threw me off. But looking forward to that big time. Ankle
That'll be
breaker.
fun.
Ankle breaker wants to know if you still leave your shopping carts out.
Oh, of course. Don't have time to be putting shopping carts away.
We haven't successfully shamed Nick into putting his shopping carts away like a good human being. Oh god. PSA Pikachu PokeDep store said in the chat is the one you were thinking of for
yes,
Rattle.
That's it. Yes.
I think we're fully caught up. Poke Department Store said, with access to 1% of the hobby, why don't you create a monopoly? He must be talking about my 1% purchase of MetaZoo's booster boxes. 1%'s a lot of the print run, but it's not nearly as much as like that card shop live buys, or it's not as much as distributors buy. Like there are singular distributors or singular big businesses that get closer to 10% probably, if not more than 10%. So I don't have enough to do anything with a monopoly, though I am one of the only single sellers right now on eBay. So I'm running somewhat of an eBay monopoly on the hollows right now. They're moving pretty well though, especially those Hateful Eight. They're moving pretty well.
Telling you, that could be you on TCG Player too. But you can make a killing. Yeah. 20 cents at a time.
Yeah. Build an empire 20 cents at a time. So we are fully caught up in chat. We are fully caught up. We have one right here. Favorite Pokemon illustrator. I am not the big illustrator guy. I do not know. Like, I can't even tell you. Probably Blasphemous. I'm going to look for the card right now because I think I have one next to me. Shining Gyarados is a Sugimori illustration. I did not even know that. It's my favorite art in the hobby. And I know who Sugimori is. I know he did the Blastoise. I know some of the cards that he did. I know Fukuda. I believe Fukuda did all the gold stars. I think I know Arita did the Charizard, the base Charizard. I know a handful of them, but like I am not a big illustrator guy. Maybe Sugimori's my favorite because he did my favorite card. I genuinely don't know.
Now that I finally have it.
There you go.
Impossible. I can't see. Am I showing it off?
Yeah. You did a pretty good job. We could see the Shining Magikarp too, so that was good. So you don't have a big like favorite illustrator either?
No. I'm the same way. Yeah. Couldn't tell you on that one.
Your average player asks...
Now I can see my map showing.
Now
that was one thing I learned at the Seance release.
What?
You obviously know about the mapping for Seance, right?
Yep. I heard about it.
That's absurd to me.
Pokemon, as recently as Sun and Moon, Pokemon has made mappable product 20 plus years into their history. So like it's unfortunate and it's not like ideal. It's not optimal. I'm not trying to like say MetaZoo deserves no hate or no like criticism for it, but they're a fairly new TCG. The fact that they're still having some growing pains, not overly surprising. The fact that it happened, my take is like put the information out there, let everyone know so that no one can be harmed by it. Because the problem is that you can open 4 packs out of a case and you can know how many hollows are in every box inside that case. Some people are getting 0 full hollow cases. So if you're buying loose boxes from sellers that you're not sure of, if you don't know they're reputable, you're probably getting mapped boxes that only have 0 or 9 full hollows. It made it easier for the mass break that I did. I only opened the hollow packs for the majority of it. So opening 180 boxes worth, I only had to open like half as many packs as if I couldn't map the boxes to get all the hollows that I wanted to get. But that said, the pull rates of the Hateful Eight are like very, very low. Very, very hard to pull. It's crazy.
So now
So
if you see loose seance packs on Dan's eBay store, you know not to buy them.
that's the thing. Like, if and when I do ever sell them, they'll only be sold in art sets, and it'll be disclosed. Like, these are true unmapped packs, or better, like the best way to do it, in my opinion, I will either sell an art set of full hollow packs only, or I'll sell an art set of reverse hollow packs only. That's the best way to go, I think. The whole weighing thing, I don't like selling unweighed packs because an unscrupulous seller could game that. They could sell 36 unweighed packs. They could pull 2 heavies out of the lot. They could claim that they sold 36 packs, but they could have actually sold 34, and they could have kept 2 heavy packs for themselves to do something with later. I've always liked selling hollows or non-hollows. So some future time when I'm selling seance packs, I'm going to sell, like, I'll either wholesale, bulk sell, hey, here's 1,000 mapped packs that are reverse hollows only. I'll sell them like business to business if someone has any use for those, or I'll sell just light art sets to collectors, whatever it may be. But yeah, it is what it is. I have a video coming out Saturday where I address some of that, and I show my pull rates from the 180 boxes. Negativity to negativity. Lord Pokesmoke asking if we've talked about the Ludkins controversy, drama, speculation. At this point, it's primarily drama and speculation. So I talked about that. I ranted about it a little bit earlier. If you want a quick 45-second recap, videos are going out of DMs that Nat should have never sent. If and when PSA wants to make a formal statement and push that out and give us actual information, please do that. Please do that, Nat. Put out a formal statement, let everyone know. But for Nat to go around DMing random people, asking about graded gem, asking about Ludkins, people conflating the two, mixing up which is which, so unprofessional, so ridiculous. There was a video earlier, I think I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, Neo Cards and Comics. I hate calling out individual people, but I commented right in their comment section, like, this video literally added no information, nothing of substance, just pure rumor mill drama speculation to get clicks. I hate videos like that. I hate the whole thing. If and when Ludkins wants to make a formal statement, if and when PSA wants to make a formal statement, I'm all about it. I want to hear it. I'm affected. I have 1,200 cards from 2020 through Ludkins, so I would love to hear updates. But Nat sending people DMs, those getting screenshotted, shared in Discord, shared on Instagram, and no context, what was said above or what was said below. And then just people running with different speculation. Oh, they're the next Marks cards. I hate all that. Because as recently as last week, I've heard of other people getting cards back through Graded Gem, through Ludkins. I don't think either of those are the next Marks cards. That's my whole,
definitely not.
I think I went over 45 seconds, but that's my whole recap. I just hate the whole situation, and I hate the way people capitalize on it.
Yeah. I don't understand how Nat can be responding. It's kind of good in a way that he's like down to earth, responding to regular people on Instagram, but at the same time, like, why is he responding to average people on Instagram? That doesn't make any sense.
I think Mike from MetaZoo gets similar criticism as well. Presumably, Mike runs the MetaZoo Games official Discord. I don't fully know that, though. That's an assumption. I think Nat running Nat Turner's cards on Instagram is more confirmed. I think Nat has openly stated that. I don't know that Mike might have a team of sorts that runs that other one. I don't fully know. And again, I hate to speculate. But yeah, it's fairly analogous to the whole thoughts behind people don't like that Mike gets involved. Like, and I've heard people, I think both are kind of weird. Like, I've seen some weird comments come from Nat that, in my opinion, he shouldn't have made. And I've seen some weird commentary come from whoever it is behind the official MetaZoo thing. Like, I don't think either is appropriate for a CEO or for the official social media thing of a company being used. And yeah, it's just weird. Like, if and when you want to make formal statements, push them out to everybody. Don't just DM with one random person and then allow them to go out and create their own narratives around it. It's just such a weird thing. I guess one thing that is slightly better with the whole MetaZoo thing, at least it's happening in the official Discord. So people who are in there are seeing it more than just private DMs. I don't know that I've ever seen individual private DMs related to that turned into issues or whatever. But I try to just generally not follow the drama. Being a podcast that's focused around Q&A, though, we always have to talk about them a little bit, though. That's just the way that goes. But it is funny, like the double standard, though. I've seen some people that are like, Nat's the CEO, he can do and say whatever he wants. But then the same person in the context of MetaZoo responding to certain things, they'll say, oh, what a joke of a company. The guy says this, says that in DMs, in Discord, whatever. Like, if you don't like one, you have to not like the other. They're the same thing. Mr. Walrus says it's time PokeFlipz gets a PR department. Guys get too wild to address the public. Yeah. Oh man.
There we go. We're making it big now.
Yeah. So with that, again, we've got 14 minutes left. We're completely tapped out on questions. If anyone has a question to ask, you can ask it right now. We will instantly get to it. No backlog if you ask right now. If you wait a minute, 2 minutes, you're going to brush up on the end of the stream and you might not get it answered. So anything else on your mind you want to talk about for the coming couple minutes while we don't have a question?
What are your thoughts on the Charizard UPCs? I don't think I'm honestly surprised those promos are so cheap, or relatively cheap, on TCG Player. $25-$30 a piece. You can buy them. Obviously they're not going to be PSA 10 candidates, but I was not expecting pricing to fall quickly as it did.
Shout out the old card shop. Josh is very, very happy that he predicted it properly. I do think that we will see sub MSRP. I think that everyone that wants one at MSRP, I think they printed so many that everyone who wants one at MSRP will be able to get one. Just this morning, hot off the press, brand new information. My allocation was 66 boxes through my main distributor for Wave 1. Originally, Wave 2 was supposed to be 3 to 4 cases, 12 to 16 boxes. They just told me, and they just had me confirm my allocation for Wave 2, 66 more boxes. 66 more boxes. So I'm getting 150 plus Charizard UPCs total. I'm one little guy. There are so many of these things printed. They've been so available on Walmart, so available on Target. As far as in stores, I don't know, but online, massive availability. I can see these things going sub MSRP, even though everyone thinks like they're so no-brainer, they're guaranteed to make you money. Like, I cautioned that stuff. I wasn't as vocal as Josh, not nearly as vocal as the old card shop, in the fact that they might go down. I honestly, like 2-3 months ago, I probably said I think these will hold like 150 to 200 somewhere in there, if not higher, if they just absolutely stunk out. But I would have been surprised if you told me a month or two ago that they would go sub 150. I think they're getting close though, and I think they're going to go sub 150, which functionally, by the time you talk about sales tax and all that, if shipping is free, functionally they're going to be sub MSRP if they're like less than 140 online, shipped free.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, there is an absolute massive supply of them. That is.
They could have printed 5 million. I think 5 million is a number that I threw out. That if they went crazy, if they decided to print 5 million of them, the price will almost certainly go sub MSRP. For all I know, they may have printed 5 million. They printed a ton of these things. It's insane. We did get a couple questions now. If you want to hop back into questions, but I was
some juicy comments now.
Unless I missed it, I don't think anyone had asked about Zard UPC print run or anything up to that point.
I didn't see anything about it.
Dark Lava Lizard asks if we participate in the E4 Secret Santa. I have every year. Actually, I haven't been on E4 much lately. Is there a deadline coming soon?
No, it's usually right around Thanksgiving. Or no, that's when you ship the stuff. There must be something about Secret Santa by now.
I need to make a note because I've participated in it every year for the past, I don't remember how many years. You have too, right?
Yeah, it's been I want to say it's been like 3 or 4 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I've done it
I think
at least 4 years, I would say.
they're fun though.
I enjoy
I
them.
like doing that. Yeah.
I need to
Although I
get on
don't
there
enjoy
tonight.
what was that?
I need to get on there tonight and make sure I'm in it.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I don't enjoy having to draw something.
That's one of the most fun parts for
I
me.
absolutely hate drawing. I do not enjoy that whatsoever.
See, I enjoy it because I'm so bad at it. It's funny. I actually also make my son draw one every year for all the years I've been in it. I like because usually they list 2 or 3 of their favorite Pokemon. I draw one, my wife draws one, and then my son and my daughter are each gonna draw one too. So I include pictures from my kids. I think on the other end that would be
Nice.
fun to receive as well. Like my son is actually getting to where he can kind of draw now. Next year, maybe 2 years from now, he's gonna surpass me in his ability to draw. So it'll be cool to like the progression of mine being the best, well, my wife's being the best, then mine, then my son's, my son and my daughter within the next few years will be passing me in their ability to draw. So that'll be fun. Um
Oh,
the Celebi says, what question do you not want to hear on the next podcast?
something
Please,
about Moonbryon.
please, no more Moonbryons, no more Charizard UPCs, and please do not get peeked at you going on about his Majora's Mask cards, nor about signatures or anything like that. I know it's gonna happen, but yeah, please don't. Carrium
Oh,
Taylor says, "How many Pokemon cards do I have to sell to have a beer with you two? None. Come to the next Collecticon. Find out where we're hanging out. Everyone's welcome to come hang out, and beers are always had at Collecticons in the evening. So come find us."
I will add though, it depends on if you're buying them or if
Yeah,
no. Um yeah, no, definitely always willing to hang out with people no matter what. That's what the cons are all about for sure. Hanging out, talking to different people, having a good time.
Dan has the way better boss. Easy answer there.
Yeah, my boss is a slave driver over here,
Yeah.
making me grind out singles.
Bondo asks if we've
Uh,
seen the Crown Zenith leaks. Do you think the set will compare to other specialty sets like Shining Fates, Hidden Fates? I saw that they have like an 80 card, similar size to the Shiny Vaults from Hidden Fates, but it's a trainer gallery vault of sorts. So that'll be cool to see. How will it compare? I have no idea. One thing that I'm hyped for, Lucario on the ETB. That's my son's favorite Pokemon. So I'm hyped for that.
oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it'll be interesting.
I'm gonna stock up
I don't really
heavy.
have any. What was that?
I'm gonna stock up heavy on the ETBs for my son.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Buy pallets of them to set aside for the long term.
Yeah. L Dubs, have either of you guys pre-ordered the Japanese Scarlet Violet game that comes with a Pikachu promo with the starters? It has Big Boy Quaxley. That promo gives me big vibes of the Sword and Shield 20, which I really like that promo a lot. I'm sure and I'm hopeful that it will have an English counterpart. Whatever English counterpart box that it comes out in, I think that collection box will do well, and I'm gonna try to get as much as possible because I love Quaxley. I love that promo, the Sword Shield 20, and I did do well with it, grading and having a lot raw. I went heavy on that collection box.
Which one? What was? I missed that. I was. What collection box are you talking about there?
The Japanese Scarlet Violet game that comes with a Pikachu promo with the starters. It's very similar to Sword Shield 20 promo, just for the new
Oh, okay.
generation.
Okay, I got you. I have not. I have not done that. No.
Thoughts on Arceus UPC? I have mine pre-ordered. I got 2. The metal card makes it hard to print IMO, and it's a GameStop exclusive. Yeah, I got whatever. I think I got 5 was the limit, just because I don't have access to that through wholesale distribution. I broader thoughts, I have no idea. If you look back at the it didn't have metal cards, but if you look back at the Sword and Shield Ultra Premium collection with Zacian and Zamazenta, it didn't do nearly as well as the Celebrations UPC. It was probably printed less, but it's more niche, not as many people care about it. So I don't think it'll necessarily Celebrations UPC, but it'll almost certainly be printed less than the Charizard one. So it's probably a reasonable play.
Yeah. I like the fact that it's GameStop exclusive. Everyone's in at that same $100 price point. That's definitely nice right there. But as far as like the UPC itself, I'm not a big fan of the metal cards. How they look exactly like the standard card. Like with Celebrations, I really liked the gold aspect of the Charizard and Pikachu. It was different than your base set Charizard and Pikachu, but it was similar enough. Where these ones, it's literally like printed in color of that exact Arceus V and V Star. I'm not a big fan of that, but it'll be interesting to see how those do.
If alt art stopped after Sword and Shield, what do you think happens to the alt art market? It's hard to say. Is the new thing, is it like I don't know what the new thing would be, but is it flashier? Is it cooler? Is it better than alt arts? They'll probably fade into the background a little bit. If overall the sentiment is like they're worse than, if people miss alt arts, if people get nostalgic for alt arts, I don't know. They could see some kind of a renaissance down the line, but shiny alt arts are still going to be a thing at some point, almost certainly. It's hard to say, but usually what happens is the next newest, shiniest, flashiest thing takes center stage, and the older thing fades into the background a little bit.
Yep. I would pretty much agree with that one. I think it depends on what the newest thing is, and then how that compares to alt arts. In the short term, I'm sure we'd see massive spikes as people buy a whole bunch of them, hoping to hold them for the long term, sell them for.
So we've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to rapid fire the last couple questions. With that, we probably won't get to any other questions asked from here on out. We'll have to do our quick wrap up at the end. But Brendan Baker asked if I got the life-size Lucario from Pokemon Center. I did not. The only life-size one that I got was the, well, not life-size, but like big one that I got was the Snorlax as of now.
Which you've tossed to the curb.
Yeah, he's over there. He's looking at me right now across the room. I can see him over my monitors.
looking at you in disgust.
He's still on sabbatical. I don't know how to say this, but Amalia, maybe? Is it worth buying the Celebrations UPC at this point and holding it, or better to just buy the metal cards? If you're thinking about buying it because you like the metal cards, I think it's probably best to just buy the component that you like the most as far as on a cost value perspective. If you think long term, like, I don't know if this is more of an investment question or what, but if you like the metal cards because you like them, probably just buy them and get what you actually want from the product. But if you're talking about more of an investment, long-term speculation, it's hard to say. Like, Celebrations UPC, Arceus UPC, is it going to be first in a long line of metal card products? Will it stand out because of that? I love Celebrations as a set too, so like it could be a reasonable play. That said, the price is a lot higher than retail. I hate getting into things late, and I hate paying such a high markup, because whoever you buy that from, if you buy that from me on Troll and Toad, I just made a ton of money off that. Like, I made a huge margin. How much will be left for you how much will be left for you to make? It's hard to say.
I like the idea of Celebrations UPCs. I think they're way better than the Charizard UPCs because they printed a lot less of them, and Celebrations was the 25th anniversary. Absolutely love that set, and overall, I just think it's a better UPC than the Charizard one. I saw something on Facebook the other day. Someone asked a similar question. Would you rather have, because like UPCs are like 140 as of a few days ago. So would you rather have 2 Charizard UPCs or 1 Celebrations UPC, since they're both around the same price? And there were a lot of people saying Charizard because it's Charizard. It's like a whole thing with this whole Sword and Shield era. I would personally say Celebrations 100%, because Celebrations is like the whole 25th anniversary. It's like focused on that one set, which was a really good set in my opinion.
I don't want to have to hold either long term. I want the ability to just sell.
Have to pick one. Someone's holding a gun to your head.
I like Celebrations more. I like the set, but like I knock the gun out of their hand and I defeat them in a battle. and then I don't have to do either. But yeah, with that, we're fully caught up on questions. No more new questions. 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from, it might be like that evening, I think we're going to go live at about 9 p.m. Eastern. Need to confirm with Peak.Chew the exact details, but approximately 9 p.m. Eastern on November 17th, we will have special guest Peak.Chew. We look forward to catching you all live. Anything else to add in closing, Nick?
No, thanks for hanging out with us. Always a fun time. If you have any questions for next week, be sure to leave them in the comments after we end this live stream.
And look forward to Nick's video on how he packs orders without packing slips like the madman that he is. Look forward to potential future Whatnot live streams from Nick. Look forward to the OSP5 code on his website. Good stuff. Good stuff out there, I think. Good stuff going on. But yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for hanging out in the chat. It's 4:30, it's quitting time. With that, we will catch you all later.